So previously we did have Wigglytuff Guild versus Emperor's Loyalists, but we didn't actually have a match between Sojuz Paradox League and Wigglytuff Guild. So here we are. On the red side we have the Sojuz Paradox League clan. Starting off, we've got Merrill going to be playing as Plague Champion on the contested VP. We've got Gazcool playing as a bbbOS in the centre of the map, and then we have Reef at Null playing as a Lord General on the top side map. Meanwhile, on the blue side, the Wigglytuff Guild side, we've got St. Kelly going to be playing as a Lord Commissar up against that Plague Champion on a contested VP. Legionator going to be playing as a Tech Marine, and Forge Father going to be playing as that Force Commander. Not much going on so far. No one has actually met each other yet, although some Scouts and a bbbOS will meet each other in the mid side. Tech Marine should be able to deal some damage or force off this bbbOS, but the bbbOS decides to charge in, going to go straight onto those Scouts. Scouts, though, with their high movement speed, easily out-dodging the bbbOS. Tactical Marines even getting some shots in as well, before the bbbOS is forced into a retreat. Meanwhile, some Scouts already getting forced off on the right-hand side. At Mason Ra, in terms of who's actually winning the series so far, there are currently two clans with 2 points, which is... I think it is actually these two which are currently winning at the moment. So SPL did go 2-1 yesterday against Brotherhood, and Wigglytuff Guild did go 2-1 against Emperor's Loyalists, so they're currently on 2 points. Emperor's Loyalists then, and Brotherhood currently on 1 point each, so things are not very far apart at the moment, just 1 point difference. So I'd like to imagine that this is kind of like the winner's match equivalent. But we need to actually have someone to keep track of the score altogether. We have a bit of assistance here from Legionator, going to be helping out the Imperial Guard, trying to force off that Plague Champion. Heretics already taking a lot of damage, and CSM trying to fall back here, but this is only yellow cover. Sentinel can easily walk all over it and easily shoot units behind yellow cover. Now Sentinel, though, is getting a little bit low, does need to be careful of damage over time, it's still vulnerable to it, and the Plague Marine, Plague Champion rather overstaying as well, trying to finish off that Sentinel, will fall down but is reasonably close to base. Should be an easy res for the bbbOS when he comes over to assist. We do have the Orc army going to make its way here, but going to get a little bit caught out if it's not careful. Shotgun Blast is ready on these Scouts. bbbOS is going to lead the charge, going to try to absorb as much damage as possible, but it tends to be the Sluggers here getting focused down. Some nice focus there from Legionator. He's taking out all the Slugger models. The bbbOS is much easier to deal with when it has no melee backup. Imperial Guard going to be joining the fight. Sentinel just have Stomp ready to go, I believe. So we could see a bit of an aggressive Stomp onto these Shooter Boys. Not actually needed though. Shooter Boy is going to retreat all the way back to base. And Wigglytuff Guild going to secure their position on the left-hand side. We do have a bit of aggression coming in here from Reef, going to be pushing up against the power, currently being reloaded at the moment. Tacticals, though, a little bit low. Do need to be a bit careful. We also have the Sergeant Scout upgrade already as well. Could see some grenades against Imperial Guard. A bit hard to try and wipe any squads against Imperial Guard with grenades. But also very nice for detection. These Guardsmen, though, incredibly low. Looks like they're getting hit by the damage over time, but we'll be able to get away just about here. Heretics are on the chase and actually able to finish off the squad. Surprised the Doom Blast actually had the range to do that. I know they are quite low, down to just 10 HP each, but even still. These Heretics, though, being a little bit too ambitious, getting a bit too cocky after that one particular kill, going to be forced off, although it looks like the squad is going to barely get away. The Sentinel could try and chase this down. Down to just 1 HP. The hero Heretic squad makes it out 1 HP after taking out that Guardsman squad, and even after tying up some heavy weapons team as well. Sentinel, though, take a bit of damage. The Sentinel is affected by the damage over time from the Plague Champ. You can see the health ticking away, so always something to keep in mind when playing Imperial Guard against that. Sounded like we just had a bit of a misfire there from the Shotgun Blast, and these Scouts, they are getting a bit low, and Legionator getting flanked here, does need to be careful. Scouts should be safe to retreat away now. Tactical Marines and Tech Marine going to try and force melee here. Tech Marine didn't actually force melee. Looked like he got a little bit stuck on the ground, and we do have a last second Shotgun Blast going to come in though, which is going to secure him. Knocking back these shooters at the last second. Tech Marine will live to fight another day. Meanwhile, some more action over that contested VP. 464 to 437. No particular person has been dominating at Mason Ra. Yep, this is currently game number 1 for the evening. Play champion, just picking away there at some Guardsman models. Play champion is just so nice at picking away at those low health, high infantry count squads. Some tacticals. Legionnaires going to be forced off. Castians with their power melee going to be a bit too much of a threat for them. Force Commander also decides to back away as well. No one's seen any part of that. And both players are just going to pack away. We do actually have the boss pole coming in here for the war boss. Does affect all allied infantry, even if you are not an orc player. So all these Castians, the Lord General included, is going to benefit from the 20% health bonus that the war boss provides to all surrounding units. Can definitely scale up incredibly nicely. Sluggers, though, even with that health bonus, are not going to be able to withstand these ASMs. Actually going to fall down in combat there, taking far too much damage. And ASMs are going to back out fairly safely. Meanwhile, these extra tanky Castians are going to be ready to counter the ASMs that have just jumped in for Legionnator. We do actually have a flank, so this is going to be a bit of a rough fight for Wigglytuff Guild to hold. Grenade does get thrown down, is going to miss these Castians though. And Guardsman desperately trying to hold on to the last man, but as we see, Sojuz Paradox League just going to carry on advancing even further. Well, in fact, sorry, got the team names wrong. Wigglytuff Guild going to continue advancing even further there, forcing Sojuz Paradox League off the field. Could try and go in for a decap on the natural VP, but natural VP is quite difficult to hold this stage of the game. Typically you don't see that happen until tier 3, where you can have tanks or units with greater mobility and also having decent range at the same time. At Oceans, the stream is kind of lagging just due to 3v3 observers. When observing the 3v3 game in Dawn of War 2, for those unaware, you essentially don't get very much FPS compared to if you're just watching the replay. So that's why the stream may appear as if it's lagging or has low frame rate. It's not ideal. I'm trying to do a live stream of 3v3. Those Marines using that cacophony after bashing power, going to knock back the Guardsmen before running away. Does help them from losing any extra models. Meanwhile, some tactical Marines here for Legionnator. You need to be a little bit careful having to run through these Heretics and Sentinel. Heretics, though, we're focusing down Tech Marine, although the Commissar Lord coming in with a special, just knocking them all to the ground. Hero Heretic squad going to be forced to back away. Do you have that Aspiring Champion to lead them now? And we do see a push from Wigglytuff, going to regain the contested VP. Currently down a small amount in terms of VPs, but not by much. 378 to 437. Start seeing tier 2 now for all players on the field. Merrill finishing his tier 2 now. St. Kelly, the only one who's not teching up or currently at tier 2. Should see that come in from fairly soon. Does have plenty of resources to do so, with the exception of, well, actually say plenty of resources, has plenty of power to do so, but lacking in terms of requisition. Spending a bit too much on the Guardsman. The tier 2 now started for St. Kelly. We do have a vehicle approaching the field here. For Reef, going to be the first one. You know, Legionnator going to opt for some Plasma Devastators. Going to be very effective against the grouping here on the contested VP. Weird way against come in, should be able to disrupt the Devastators. There we do see some Castians trying to knock him back, but actually misses the lead model, catching out only the back model there. ASM's going to jump in, surprisingly losing the model before even making the jump. Second squad here for Legionnator is going to back up, but the Chimeras on the field, allowing Guardsmen to reinforce. Flare is going to get placed down against the Imperial Guard army there. And Reef is going to be forced to back up a little bit further. This does allow Wigglytuff Guild to push in a bit more. Force Commander going to ignore that grenade that was very close to him. Normally would have been knocked over, but the Battle Cry was enabled, preventing him from getting knocked over by such small things. Meanwhile, Chimera is having to reverse constantly. We have a Melter Bomb about to go down. Tech Marine is chasing with his Melter Gun. One more shot. Might be able to do it, or might take 2. Chimera desperately trying to back away. Some Guardsmen are retreating away, but should be able to be out of base soon. Castians will come in for the last second assist. Chimera should live overall. Meanwhile, on the left-hand side, we do have the Blast Master upgrade here for the Noise Marines. These Guardsmen are currently being suppressed at the moment, but the Blast Master actually focuses down the Lord Commissar as opposed to the Guardsman Blob. Guardsman Blob, though, should be focused down with the next hit, but the Noise Marines are still trying to target that Lord Commissar. He will fall down to these Havocs, and the Guardsmen will be able to back away. You have some Plasma Devastators gain suppressed as well here on the backside of the map. I'm not sure they're being suppressed by though. And one shot from the Blastmaster forces them off the field. They might even go down. 41 HP. The Noise Marines, when they do land their shot, it is fairly brutal. And Noise Marines also quite tanky as well in comparison to Plasma Devastators. They do less damage per shot with the Blastmaster versus the heavy Plasma Cannon. But they do have a lot of tankiness in comparison, 1100 HP maximum compared to the 675 of the Plasma Devastators. Weird Boy going in a little bit too aggressively there. Outside cover, do see the shouts going to stun a scout squad. Tactical Marines also getting inflicted by that as well, will be focused down by these shooters. And scouts need to be a little bit careful. They are incredibly vulnerable to shooter fire in this late stage of the game in the ASM. Going to get a double jump on top of the squad into force that into a full-on retreat. The double Space Marine army here for Legionator and Forge Father going to be a bit too much there for Gazark and Reef to keep up against for now. Meanwhile, some CSM and the Plague Champion just doing what they can. These Chaos Space Marines getting a little bit low. They do have the Aspiring Champion to lead them. Meanwhile, the Plague Champion, no Wargear upgrades for him at the moment. We do actually have a bit of flank in Legionator getting straight on top of these Havocs. The CSM are trying to not run away. They're trying to get to the Shrine of Nurgle as quickly as possible. A nice Blastmaster shot there is going to force off the ASM squad, bring them down so low, and it looks like CSM barely able to get away. The Tech Marine is trying to chase them down. We have Havocs now setting up. Tech Marine will be forced off. Blastmaster Noise Marines might be able to get a decent shot here against the infantry. We'll be able to get the shot in onto these Cassicians. We do actually have a Noxious Cloud to follow that up. They are going to retreat away. The Noxious Cloud dealing heavy melee damage, making it even more effective against units that actually retreat away from it. However, you are forced to retreat away from it in most situations. You can't just ignore it. More general though. And to casually dodge that grenade. And we'll carry on pushing through. Meanwhile, the Noise Marine is going to be set up once again. We do have a Plasma Devastator shot. Going to catch out some Heretics. Meanwhile, the Noise Marine shot in return is even more brutal, nearly wiping the Plasma Devastators there. And Merrill going to be holding that position very firmly. Tactical Marines coming in for a bit of a flank there. I able to pick up a couple of Orc models before being forced to back away here. Not really wanting to stand up against the entire army too much. Some ASMs for Legionator, taking a lot of damage there. 87 HP. They currently don't have a Sergeant to lead them. Tactical Marines are also forced into the same position, going to be running them back to base. And kind of interested why Legionator here has opted for the Plasma Gun upgrade. He may have opted for it to try and combat Meryl's army, but currently the Imperial Guard army and the Orc army don't actually have any heavy infantry to make use of. So the Plasma Gun upgrade may seem a bit expensive to go for. However, nonetheless, it will be very good when Legionator does come around for some flanking action. Instead, we actually have some assistance from Wigglytuff Guild wanting to push even further on top of the contested VP here. The Chimera is going to park up there. The Guardsmen lean forward. Scouts getting knocked onto their feet by that Weird Boy. These Scouts, as much as they've done quite a lot of work in the early stages of the game, they're going to be incredibly vulnerable and very difficult to actually keep alive as the game progresses later on, as the blobs get a bit bigger and the range damage becomes much greater. These Scouts are going to be in risk of just falling down before the engagement begins, or going to be unable to do anything. You have a nice little combo there with the ASMs knocking some shooters into that Plasma Devastator shot. It is going to put Gazark into a retreat. And ASMs are just going to try and pick away at some models as best as they possibly can. Still level 1 though, nearly level 2. Do need to be careful about approaching this Imperial Guard army. Sentinel can try and switch to its anti-vehicle missiles and chase down the Chimera, but that Guardsman squad is actually going to wipe the ASM. They die in retreat. Grenade does get thrown down, is going to have a decent amount of impact, but overall the Guardsmen are just going to out-reinforce any sort of damage. Librarian Smite also trying to do the same thing, but once again the Chimera here is the main issue, allowing them to reinforce in the field as quickly as possible. You can have all the AoE that you want, however it does not matter if you can't actually finish off the squad because they are out-reinforcing the damage. As an alternative, if you force them to reinforce enough, they will actually run out of money eventually, but Guardsmen are so cheap, so it can be difficult to try and do that. Chimera not getting afflicted there by the last cannon. Last cannon looking like it misfired there, must have lost vision at the last second, which is why the animation went off, but the damage did not go down. As that would have been a rear armor hit, and that would have been fairly brutal to the Chimera itself. We see Meryl starting to push a little bit more outwards now from that left-hand contested VP, deciding that he needs to go and help out his team a bit more. Some guardsmen going to be taking some damage. Meanwhile, the Plasma Devastation shot is going to force these Orcs into a retreat once again. Meanwhile, another Plasma shot there on top of the Knobs. Going to kind of miss the Knobs. Going to catch out the Warboss slightly, but Commanders aren't going to care as much about the Plasma Devastation shot. Ooh, a nice shot there on top of these CSM. Does bring him down quite low, and the Force Commanders 2 followed up. A model is likely to fall here. Force Commando manages to target the model, which probably had the most health. Meanwhile, some Knobs going to come in. We have some Terminators called in as well for Mero, and some Terminators being called in onto the backline of Legionator trying to defend the VP. These tacticals are just taking far too much damage, just fall down instantly. I believe that was a brand new squad there for Legionator or Forge Father. Scouts trying to do what they can using their shotgun blast against these Knobs, a tier 3 unit this late in the game. We do have some upgrades coming in for them. Hard Boys has been cast as well, so you provide them with some additional tankiness. Predator though should make short work of them, should be able to kite them all the way back. We do have another call, and look like it could be some more Terminators on the field. Going to be some Assault Terminators, though this time from Forge Father. Lean Rust with the Executioner going to help out, going to be very effective against these blobs, doing splash damage. Chaos Terminator is going to be upgraded with a Lightning Claw upgrade, however, not really wanting to engage these Assault Terminators. The Assault Terminators do have a bit more tankiness in comparison. We do see these teleports away, very defensive there from Merrill. Meanwhile, the 2 tanks for the side of Wigglytuff Guild is going to force off any sort of vehicle nearby, as they will easily get chased down. Scouts just going to sit on that right-hand side though. Going to struggle to be joining into the main engagements, however, still want to keep them alive. Their repair abilities in tier 3 is invaluable. Always very useful to keep it around. Could always have a repair bunker from Imperial Guard, but the risk with bunkers is that you can actually destroy them fairly easily as your opponent. Or you can always capture them for your own if you decide to push in further into the enemy base. You do have what I believe is a rocket run coming in here. It's actually going to be largely avoided. We'll catch out the Tactical Marines though on the backside. And the squad for Legionator will live overall. The rocket run does a nice job of delaying the army from pushing forward. But the army is just going to resume pushing forward, in fact. Looks like they're going to try and go after the natural VP, realizing they can't actually get this VP here, which has been reinforced by the Shrine of Nurgle. Decide to try their chances on the mid side. Knobs going to try and go in. There's actually a lot of support here, and I'm not sure if they can do that. They are going to get a nice stun onto the Terminators. Should be able to get some decent momentum here on their huge hammers. And that one particular lead Terminator model is just getting focused down by all 5 models. It's fairly brutal. The Chaos Terminators are going to follow up where the Knobs back off. The Lightning Claws is going to tear through these ASM. Not going to be very effective against vehicles, but should be able to finish off most infantry on the field. But the Chaos Terminators not having a retreat ability. We need to be careful about how far they choose to push in. We do have the Terminators with their Storm Shields trying to find a bit of an opening here. Let's be careful as they are half blocking the Predator. Predator is going to back away. Scouts are running away as much as possible. But we still have these Lightning Claw Terminators on the back line. The Predator, although not going to care as much about power melee damage, still needs to be careful though. The half blocking is incredibly annoying. These Terminators are not teleporting away. They are very far split apart here, and teleport comes in after being half blocked by the vehicle for so long. Missile launcher for the Terminator squad of Legionator. Looks like the missile barrage is already on cooldown. The Predator will live overall. The Lord General was unable to chase it any further. We do actually have a Chaos Predator in response. Going to be the Mark of Tzeentch upgrade, allowing it to chase down vehicles very effectively with its twin last cannons. Can also do quite well against the Terminators if it does actually land its shots. Imperial Guard last cannon is going to slow down that Lehman, but Lehman will sit just outside range. Tech Marine with the Signum armor as well can mark enemy vehicles to increase the amount of damage that they do take. However, with the Melter gun as this primary weapon, it does actually lack the range to try and sit back and do that. Chaos Predator going to lead the charge here. Could try and chase down the Sentinel, it's quite vulnerable. Although it's taking a lot of damage, does need to back away. Sentinel with the missile launcher can easily chase this down. It's actually going to fall there to the Devastators with a last cannon, and it's going to slowly lose control, speeds up there, and crashes into a wall. I do actually have a second Nob squad here for Orcs. Second Nob squad hasn't been fully upgraded as of yet. We have the BbBoS with the heavy armor, going to make him pretty much as tanky as a Nob squad almost. Sigma arm getting cast onto the initial Nob squad, but the squad will be forced away. That BbBoS could try and chase down these Terminators. Meanwhile, we do see some disruption on the backline here from the Force Commander and from these Devastators. Terminators are able to teleport away too safely. They'll be able to use their missile barrage for a different fight. Force Commander is getting a little bit low, will be forced away, but does a good job of tying up these knobs long enough, buying some time here. But Sojuz Paradox League, 100 VPs, 380, the advantage currently firmly in SPL's side. Lehman does actually fall down to last cannon here though. We do have a Predator. It's going to show rear armor. The Curse of Tzeentch Havoc, so are going to get rear armor hit. Predator not backing away far enough, and the Melter Guns and last cannon is going to be a bit too much, and that's going to be another tank down. In fact, we don't actually have any tanks on the field at the moment. The Chimera is the only vehicle now, along with the Sentinel on the other side. The Assault Terminators there of Legionator, or sorry, of Forge have actually been upgraded with the Lightning Claw upgraded as well. Both squads trying to fight for melee dominance. Chaos is going to lose that fight very heavily. Do actually see a re-engage though. They did lose one model there. Some healing does come in, and it is going to be enough to force off the squad. However, the Chaos Terminators are also going to be forced off as well. And just a crazy fight there on the center of the map just keeps continuing. It's a massive tug of war between the natural VPs of both sides. And these Terminators, though, take a lot of damage. Do need to carry on moving back. Going to have a creeping barrage there, which will force any chase off on these Terminators. These Terminators, though, still need to run. Merrill is going to get them out there with 50 HP. Definitely don't want to lose them at this stage of the game. VPs still trickling down for Wigglytuff Guild, down to just 91. We did see a bit of a push on the left-hand side, however that push has been thwarted. We do have a Baneblade rolling in though, but the Baneblade is unable to capture, so we need to be a bit careful. These Terminators getting caught out fairly hard here. Weird Boy stun coming in very effectively. Plasma Devastator is actually knocking the Terminators a little bit closer towards these knobs here. The double knobs clean house. That's going to be one less Terminator squad on the field there for the Wigglytuff Guild. It looks like another Terminator call in though on the left hand side. It's actually going to be a drop pod, desperately trying to go for the VP by the looks of it. In fact, going to be a Venerable Dreadnought. Don't see this as often. Venerable Dreadnought, though, should be fairly disruptive here. It's actually going to be a Lehman Russ call-in as well. In counter to the Venerable Dread, we do also have the Curse of Tzeentch Havocs firing away, slowing this Venerable Dreadnought down. The Venerable Dreadnought has the ability to charge in, but it's taking a lot of damage before it's actually been able to do too much. It's been able to force off a CSM squad. The Ground Pound is going to go down, but out of range. It should have been the charge. Now going to enter into its invulnerable status here, and will carry on pushing even further. Will be able to try and do what it can before falling to the ground, but the Baneblade is going to be the meat of this army. The Chimera, again a bit low, is going to be forced away. And we do actually have a capture here from Wigglytuff Guild. This Shrine of Nurgle still stands, definitely wants to take that out. Technically going to fall though. There's actually a Plague Champion amongst the mix here. We do see the Pestilent Strike does give you a cloud, which does reduce all incoming range damage by 90%. The Stormtroopers firing point blank into the Plague Champion's face, having a rough time trying to prevent him from capping it, and the Baneblade's actually going to go down here. Even Russ with the longer cannon is actually going to be able to chase it all the way back to base, and Lord General is firing away with the Melter Gun. A last cannon is going to set up. This Baneblade is definitely not going to live. There's a bit of half blocking going on with the Casicans, and Baneblade is going to go out of control and will crash into Sank eventually. It's actually just going to keep on going. That Baneblade going pretty far there on death. Devastators are set up here, but I think the lead model's going to die before actually getting a shot off. The squad may even go down if not careful. We'll be able to back out there at the very last second. Meanwhile, Tacticals with the Plasma Gun going to struggle up against these Guardsmen. Rocket Run does come in once again, going to catch out a couple of Guardsmen here, but overall Rocket Run not having quite the impact needed to turn the tide of this game. And GG does get called by the Wigglytuff Guild. They do actually have a small army now in comparison, throwing everything into the last fight. It's actually going to be game number 1, going to be going to SPL, or Sojuz Paradox League. Here we go. Reef Null going to be securing the champion of the game. It's surprisingly St. Kelly only had a level 1 Lord Commissar. With all the action going on, would have thought that Lord Commissar would have been able to get to level 2. And now into game 2, Wigglytuff Guild, going to be the red side of the map. Starting off at the top, we've got Forge Father playing as a Tech Marine Legionator, going to be swapping from a Tech Marine to a Lord General, and St. Kelly going to be sticking as a Lord Commissar. Meanwhile, on the blue side, the Sojuz Paradox League side, we're going to have Meryl at the top side as an APO. Previous game was a Plague Champion. We're going to have Gazkul Mag Urak Fraka. Hopefully I pronounced that correctly. Going to be switching up from a Wobus to a Chaos Sorcerer, and Reef Null from a Lord General to a Lord General. Going to be sticking with that tried and true from the previous game. So straight away in mid, some Heretics just going to be running in here. Going to get the Doom Blast and going to be immediately forced off, taking a bit too much damage in there in range. Meanwhile on the bottom side we have some Guardsmen. Going to be meeting up with the Lord Commissar, 2 Sentinels roaming around the map here for Wigglytuff Guild. Not just the one here for Sojuz, as they only got 1 Imperial Guard player. You know, Apo going in quite aggressively. It looks like the heal has already been used, so he's actually going to get forced down in melee combat there. The Tactical Marines don't actually chase any further. Apo is actually going to be able to live overall. I believe that if Forge Father was focusing down the Apo in melee combat with those tacticals, the Apo would have certainly died. Shotgun Blast though is going to help turn the tide of the battle, does knock these Tactical Marines away, knocking the Scouts out of cover. Tacticals in melee combat, they actually are just going to stand and fire each other point blank range, and I believe in this particular instance Forge Father will be able to win with the Tech Marine firing. If they were in a melee versus melee combat situation, it could have potentially gone either way, as Meryl's Tacticals were of greater health. You know what, Grenade Launch upgrade straight away here for Reef, going to be sitting behind that Shock Blocker, going to be making use of the terrain and just keep poking down at some Guardsmen. Chaos Sorcerer will use Doom Bolts, but will actually miss as Guardsmen advance further forward than predicted. And Guardsman going to be forced away. Lord Commissar looks like he is ready to do some damage. Does have the Power Sword, is going to lead the charge in. Have the energy shield, it has already been burnt through, but should be able to get a couple of Guardsman models, or at the very least force the squad off. But Grenade Launcher upgrade on the Lord General does provide a movement speed when the ability is activated. It does allow them to kite the Lord Commissar, and he's going to try and run away, but he's actually going to make it out. The Guardsmen aren't actually able to get another salvo out. Meanwhile, Sentinel, one Sentinel, going to try and chase down the Guardsman. And another Sentinel is going to fire on the Sentinel that is chasing this around. Double CSM going to be going in for Gazkul. Double CSM also focusing down the Sentinel that could go down if not careful, but we'll be able to go away. It looks like we could have a bit of a push against the power here for the blue side. Could try and go for the power node that's been placed down, or they could try and secure themselves in mid. To have some more grenade launchers as well for them. These Heretics going to be getting the grenade launcher upgrade. Does give them the grenade barrage ability, allowing them to knock back units. And we actually have a turret going down here. I'm not sure if this turret has completed building due to it not having full HP, but I guess we'll see in a second when the unit walks inside the Arc of Fire. Meanwhile, some Tzeentch Worship going to go down. We're going to infiltrate parts of Gazkul's army. Chaos Sorcerer does actually exit from that. Looks like he is going to cast down some Doom Bolts here. All 6 going to land onto that one Guardsman squad that are grouped up behind some rocks there, and they will fall back towards the infiltration there, ready for a further push. That turret again flanked very hard here for Legionator, or Forge Father, sorry. Meryl does actually have the Storm Bolter on his Apothecary. I'm not sure if he can win this fight. Should have the heal ready to go. Tactical Marines are going to take the high ground, going to try and make use of the cover. Tactical Marine also advances into some cover for himself. Go see the full also ability going to get used, going to stun the Tactical Marine, preventing him from firing any further. But the Apo does not have enough energy now to heal these Tacticals. 2 models do fall. Advantage there to Meryl, and to Forge Father, sorry. Apo going to be forced back away as well. Turret though, I'd imagine will get flanked again in the future. You can always build another turret if you want to keep an eye on your turret, but it can get quite expensive just having multiple turrets like that. Reef is going to lose a Sentinel. Did try to go in quite aggressively to try and get a stomp on some Castians. It's going to be a bit too much for it to handle. We do actually have a res going down on the Lord Commissar for St. Kelly. Going to be back in the fight, going to actually retreat back to base for some healing. Could have potentially stayed on the field for a little bit longer, given that blue team were forced off altogether. You know, Devastator is going to pretend to be the same as this turret, but with just a bit more mobile. Still unsure if this turret has been finished or not. I'm assuming it has been, since it is kind of moving around a little bit. Just the fact that it hasn't actually got full health just makes me question if the turret completed in the first place or not. Do have some Raptors and some CSM here though. Could see them come towards the top side of the map to try and assist in taking down the turret, although going to need to take quite a long path around just to get to it. We do actually see them go towards the mid side. These 4 guardsman squads are going to be a bit much for the 2 CSMs to handle. Do see them trying to position behind some green cover. Raptors though just going to try and take the engagement. Chaos Sorcerer is up against 2 here. Does need to be careful about committing too hard to a fight. We do actually have an artillery shell going to go down, going to reduce the range of the CSM. Raptors going to continue advancing against these guardsmen, and St. Kelly's Lord Commissar going to jump into the fight there with the power sword. Going to tie up that backline there. It's actually going to go for the Chaos Sorcerer. Should try and go for the CSM where possible, try and pick away at some models. You know, Raptors going to do a second jump, bits of combat here, but will get stunned by the Sentinel. St. Kelly's Lord Commissar going to be forced away, but it looks like overall the Imperial Guard armies are going to hold against the Chaos Sorcerer. We do have some Imperial Guard reinforcements for the Chaos Sorcerer on the bottom side, and that is going to be enough to turn the tide of the battle. Some nice Doom Bolts in combination with a Grenade Barrage knocks down these Castians, force them into retreat after taking down a couple of models. On the top side of the map, do actually have a generator farm game placed down here by Merrill, but Merrill currently retreating back to base. Does have some flamers on his Tactical Marine side. Might have actually taken us away from Forge Father. In fact, Forge Father's army is... In fact, both their armies are quite small, so one player could have definitely committed to building this generator farm, and both players will end up fighting over it throughout the duration of the game. A nice little grenade salvo there. The Lord General with the grenade launchers and the rescue models being equipped with the grenade launchers is incredibly annoying to deal with, as it can just... The damage can really stack up over time, especially as he can fire from quite some range. We got some Doom Bolts going to go down, going to hit hard against St. Kelly's army, hitting the guardsmen on the backside. Nice artillery spotted shell going to disrupt the CSM, but we do actually have a grenade barrage in return there, which disrupts St. Kelly's army even further. All guardsmen have run back to base, all of them with the Sergeant upgrade should be able to heal back up fairly quickly and get back into the fight. Meanwhile, the Sentinel there for Legionator gets a little bit low. Castians and Lord General are going to take the lead here, start tanking up against the army. Lord General looks like he's trying to force melee here. You know, Sentinel kind of sits a bit back. Smoke shell going to get dropped down, and it's actually going to be enough to force Legionator off, but this does mean that Reef and Null can push in a bit further and can go for the generator farm. You know, on the top side of the map, just Tactical Marines and Scout bodies littered across the top side. Turret still stands. Generators are currently neutral at the moment. These Flame Tactical Marines are going to be uncontested here. Another set of Tactical Marines is going to come in, but I don't think they can force melee in time to try and prevent them from burning down this turret. Going to be a bit of an expensive loss there for Forge Father and St. Kelly. And Merrill going to just back away after taking that down. Tier 2 for the majority of players. Now we do have all players either taking up or already Tier 2. Chimera's out for both Imperial Guard players on either side. St. Kelly though should see the Commissar upgrade for the Guardsmen fairly soon, especially with the Chimera hitting the field. And Reef and Null probably see the same thing as well. Going to have the Mark of Zinch upgrade coming in for these tactical, for these Chaos Space Marines. Going to allow them to be more effective against heavy infantry, just increases their range damage overall. We also have the Sparring Champion leading the Raptor squad, is armed with a Death Maul. Could be a dead Guardsman squad here. These Raptors are coming close to wiping one. I can't actually click on it because the squad's that low. So actually you're down to 24 HP with 2 out of 9 models alive. There's recent change. Raptors are now equipping a Death Maul as opposed to a Power Fist. It does mean that they can't have a sidearm to fire against vehicles. However, Raptors are still as effective as ever. current champion. Going to be the only units remaining there can reinforce from the allied Chimera, but are going to be forced off the field before they can actually get close enough to it to get any sort of reinforcements ready to go. The Sentinel taking a lot of damage there, spending a lot of time trying to turn around the Inferno damage from these Chaos Space Marines. It's going to be plenty to force off the Sentinel over time and time again until they can actually secure the kill on it eventually. Meanwhile, the fight for the top Jareds of Farm continues here, as you're going to go back to Wigglytuff's side for a short amount of time. Jareds of Farm on the bomb side is going to fall altogether. St. Kelly, we do see some Commissar upgrades for his guardsmen, should be able to increase the amount of damage taken, or should be able to increase the amount of damage that they can deal out. Also increases the amount of damage that they can take as well, as they do get some extra models and extra tankiness. You know what, Chimera versus Chimera, no one's going to win that fight, it's going to go on for ages. We do have Stormtroopers going to come in though, this Chimera is vulnerable to going down. Now some Heretics, but the Heretics maybe path blocking the Chimera just a little bit. Guardsmen are going to exit the vehicle, try and get some last second repairs, and the Stormtroopers are actually going to back away there. They were 2 shots from finishing off, and the Censor, not equipping the anti-vehicle rounds, is actually going to be firing against the infantry there. Chimera for Revenant is backing away with all haste, is going to be able to make it out there alive. Some Guardsmen are going to sprint towards it for some last second repairs so they can get back into the fight. Meanwhile, St. Kelly's Chimera is going to park itself on the mid-side. 414 VPs, 146 Wigglytuff Guild are lacking in VPs once again this game. You see the APO, the armor of the Apothecarian, is trying to heal up the APO's army as quickly as possible, but the APO about to run out of energy. But a Dreadnought will take his place, will be forcing off the entire army there. Forge Five doesn't really have an answer to the Dreadnought at the moment, and will be able to roam around uncontested. Meanwhile, can get a secure on Jerry's farm on the top side of the map once again. Raptors going to try and go in here. Chaos Dreadnought with the autocannon might be able to chase down the Chimera. It still has a bit of health at 163. Actually going to be going after the Sentinel instead. We do actually have a massive counter push here from Sojuz Paradox League. Both players grouping up, going to make a big push, but the Chimera though, driving in a bit too aggressively, is leading the charge. You don't want it on the front line like that. Stormtroopers will be able to finish it off this time, not going to let it get away with just a couple of hits remaining. However, do have a last cannon firing away. The Lord General does have the Meltgun upgrade himself, can inspire his allies to fire 30% quicker. Last cannon is going to be in rapid fire mode here, and will be able to get a shot it needs to finish off that Chaos Dreadnought. Meanwhile, some ASM here. It's actually Forge Father joining the fire. I was going to say I didn't remember seeing some ASM in these engagements down the bottom side, but Forge Father actually jumps in to try and assist. Looks like all 3 players may group up together. We do have the summoning circle here from the Chaos Sorcerer. Does spawn Bloodletters, does allow you to reinforce on the field if any of your units are close enough. However, we have some CSM approaching, could try and reinforce, but both of them are currently on 3 out of 3 models. We know some artillery spotters on the back line there, against you force off the grenade launcher Heretics. And we do have the Robes of Torment getting used there, going to snare units into place, although it was just out of range of all these guardsmen, so that it will prevent any further units from being able to walk over that terrain without getting snared into place. Meanwhile, Chariots of Farm going to switch hands once again. Neither player actually decided to tear down the entire Chariots of Farm, just going to keep on capturing and denying it from your opponent. Meanwhile, some Cadian Caskins already on the field here. You see the grenade launch upgrade coming in for them. I believe the grenade launchers are still knocked back on every hit, so it can be quite annoying against a massive army. Maelstrom does go down onto the Dreadnought, but these last cannon Devastators not in range of the Dreadnought will be able to get away there. Dreadnought unable to get the second hit that it needed in melee combat. And they shall no fear getting used against these ASMs, allows the Tactical Marines to land specials against the units. Does reduce their movement speed down by quite a bit. Stormtroopers are focusing down these Tacticals as opposed to the Dreadnought, but it doesn't matter because the last cannon is going to come in for the last hit anyway. And overall, Forge Father are going to be able to push in a bit further. It really needs this VP as much as possible, as quickly as possible. Down to just 31 there. Going to lose control at center VP as well. You have a drop in, going to be a Lehman Russ on the field, I'd imagine. Going to give Sojuz Paradox League a bit of extra pushing power. Going to have a creeping barrage there on the mid side. Going to force these guardsmen into a retreat. They do have commissars leading them, so they can break retreat if needed. However, there's no vehicle on the map to reinforce from, so may decide to not do that. Sentinel taking quite a lot of damage here. Is getting repaired as quickly as possible, but it's not going to be enough. It will actually fall. And Raptor is going to go in there. Chaos Sorcerer going to lock down these guardsmen in place. You can focus the Chains of Torment itself to try and release the guardsmen, but it can be a bit difficult to try and focus down in the midst of combat. Some Plague Marines are going to advance forward, going to try and get a snipe there onto that Chimera. Some Stormtroopers on the back line are unable to kill the Leman Russ. Leman Russ is still fairly healthy on the map. You know, the Chimera is just going to receive some damage from these Plague Marines. Some Dark Flames though, burning away at these guardsmen. Squads are so low, down to 55 HP and 1 HP, even lower. The squads overall are going to be able to back away there, and we do have a Leman Russ called in by Legionator in response to the other Leman Russ getting called in. Down to just 29 VPs. We'll see if Wigglytuff Guild can hold on strong in this game. That Leman Russ is actually taking quite a lot of damage there, trying to get into this combat. The Plague Marines and the other Leman Russ doing quite a bit of damage. You actually have the Vanquisher Cannon there. It does allow the Leman Russ to do masses of single target damage at the weakness of losing any sorts of AoE damage that it did have. Chimera hit for St. Kelly in a pinch of trouble here, trying to back away as best it can, but it's actually getting a bit stuck there on some guardsmen. Meanwhile, Stormtrooper is desperately trying to go in for the kill on the Leman Russ. Is actually going to use the squad entirely there. However, the push for Wigglytuff Guild still remains fairly strong, forcing Sojuz Paradox League to go down towards the bottom side in a bit of a retreat. However, the VPs do tick down, not being able to control any of the VPs on the map. It was a 2-0 cap, and that does mean that Sojuz Paradox League are going to take Game 2 as well. However, we still have a Game 3 between these two teams to see who can earn as many points as possible this evening. Okay, all players are ready to go. So on the Wigglytuff Guild side, on the red side, going to be Forge Father on the top side, switching up to an Apo in this particular game. St. Kelly going to be switching from a Lord Commissar to an Inquisitor, and we're going to actually have a player swap. Legionator has been replaced with Go Outside. However, we still have a Lord General on the side of Wigglytuff Guild. For SPL side, for Sojuz Paradox League, or Sojuz Paradox League, I don't even know if I'm pronouncing this correctly, so no one's corrected me thus far, so I'm going to assume that I'm doing okay of a job. We're going to have Gazcool on the bottom side, going to be sticking to a Chaos Sorcerer. Meryl's going to be reverting back to the Plague Champion, and Reef going to be sticking to a Lord General. Argus Desegate, a very kind of linear map, however, we can see the map open up quite a bit later on. Sentinel is able to walk over these walls along the bottom side here, which can mean that you can get to mid very easily, or your opponents can get to the bottom side very easily. We'll see if Sentinel does make use of that. Can always open up on your enemy side to try and make use of it a bit later on. We actually have another Sentinel coming down here, so Chaos Sorcerer going to be overwhelmed very early on. BbBoS going to catch out these guardsmen, and the Heretics are going to go in, but the Heretics are so low right now. We have a little bit of an opening being made there by one of the Sentinels, and the Heretics are going to go down there, taking a bit too much ranged fire on retreat, and will fall. Chaos Sorcerer and CSM are going to try and do what they can to hold their ground, but overall the two Sentinels are going to dominate them on the bottom side. But we do actually have on the top side a bit of a standoff there, no player really wanting to commit to the fight just yet. Plague Champion going to come in for a bit of backup, and that is going to spare the red side to try and go in for a bit of a push by the looks of it. Some scouts going to try and do what they can, focusing down the Sentinel. Should try and focus down the Lord General where possible. Sentinel is probably going to be a bit too tanky for them to take down in the very first engagement. Meryl pushing in even further there, tries to run away from the Inquisitor. Going to be forced into a retreat in an end. And looks like the Inquisitor here, with the help of the Lord General, could be able to take down that power node, try and deny some early power in that game. You know, Lord General, therefore, Reef taking a bit too much damage, will be forced away. The Apo himself has taken quite a bit of damage. Purification bars were purchased, but I don't believe they were thrown. The Apo is lacking a little bit of energy, so he's either using the heal on himself or did try and use a grenade. However, I cannot see any green splatters on the ground. Meanwhile, we do actually have the power node going to go down. Well, on the top side, it's VP is currently neutral at the moment. One guardsman squad is repairing the Sentinel, or in fact both guardsman squads look like they were repairing the Sentinel there. And it's just going to be a further push here for Reef. One of the guardsman squad should fall back though, so go and get capture on that VP. Meanwhile, Sentinel, not really sure what to focus, just keeps on turning around there. CSM going to get overwhelmed here with Lord General focusing down. The Chaos Sorcerer getting a special against the Sentinel, but the Sentinel may go down here. CSM stops focusing it there at the last second. The Sorcerer can also use Doom Bolts as well against the Sentinel to try and finish it off when it is at that low. CSM still trying to do what they can against the Lord General here. The rest of you models are going to fall for the Lord General. The Commander may even fall altogether if not careful. Chaos Sorcerer with special is actually going to be a dead commander on the field there, and it's quite a awkward position to try and get resin, but he's going to get away there with 11 HP. Sorcerer is trying to run past some guardsmen, and Lord General is actually able to make it out alive. Let's have some double grenade launcher heretics here. A multi-last has been annoyingly placed down. Kind of not quite reaching the VP, but catching out a little bit of the VP though. Plague Champion has resecured that. And these grenade launcher heretics should be able to outrange the turret, should be able to take it down from ease there. There's no repair support. Devastators are going to set up the APO. Looks like he's going to position himself here for a purification of our shot. Sentinel is going to ignore the wall there, going to walk through it, going to hit down those tactical marines. APO is in a position there. Purification vials do get thrown down. The guardsmen are going to retreat away though, trying to avoid the damage taken. Catchers will need to be careful of the purification spread. But this does mean that Forge Father can advance and going to secure the VP that he lost earlier. One guardsman squad there, getting a little bit low for outside, going to be forced into a retreat. Generator farm is still being denied on the bottom side though for the blue team. .468 VPs, 473 VPs, incredibly even this game, about to be 468 even on both sides. CSM doing what they can. The Sentinel not catching out all the models, so a couple of the models are still able to focus it down. It's going to be able to make it out there alive, but it's going to need quite a bit of repairs for it to help enough to rejoin the fight again. Sorcerer though struggling against this multi-last turret. There are some Noise Marines coming in from the side though. Noise Marines will tear this thing down so quickly. And the guards need to be a little bit careful of the Noise Marines. They will get silenced here if not careful. Taking a lot of damage here from all the massive chaos blob on the field. The guardsman squad is forced into a retreat very quickly. With the Chaos Sorcerer and the Plague Champion grouping up together, we could see a power bash coming in here to try and counter the amount of pressure the Imperial Guard have placed on them early on in the game. We do have, I'm sure I saw a health bar in this area, but must have been my imagination. To actually have Meryl going to be pushing all the way for the VP there. These Noise Marines are going to make their way towards the top side of the map. In fact, we can actually have the top farm be the one that does get focused down. We do have St. Kelly backing up all the way there. APO is pushing it further. Some Devastators currently in base at the moment, so they can try and make their way towards the top side to try and set up. In terms of technology though, SPL are behind, so do need to make a push work by the looks of it. St. Kelly and outside both with Chimeras on the way. Forge Father taking up to tier 2 himself. Meanwhile, tier 2 not actually started by any of the SPL players. Being denied the bottom generator farm for so long has had a knock-on effect there. We do start seeing that Gazcool going for tier 2 himself. The entire generator farm will fall here. Lord Gerald has managed to break through. These Marines are going to assist in burning down the generator farm. Devastator set up maybe a bit too defensively there for Forge Father. Going to reset up in a bit of a different position. Generator farm is going to go down there. Meanwhile, the generator that's been placed on the contested power at the bottom side is also going to get captured by the Chaos Sorcerer. And Chimera is going to sit back. The Chimera can advance a bit further forward. I don't think they quite realise the advantage that they've got at the moment. Inquisitor though going to burn down the ground, and actually using Hammer of the Witches on a single Heretic model really wanted the experience points from that, I imagine. One Sentinel is going to fall down, although the other Sentinel getting a little bit low, getting some last second repairs here from the Guardsmen. These tacticals enabling their Kraken rounds to try and focus it down. We'd also have the APO going in here. Purification Vials are going to land on the CSM squad, although going to miss the Guardsman squads. They are going to be able to remain in the fight for a bit longer, where the Guardsmen are going to instantly retreat through the Purification path. It is just spread everywhere. One Guardsman squad will fall. Other one is going to be fairly safe, avoiding the poison that has just been littered across the ground. Chimera just driving around here. Chaos Sorcerer is now tier 2, but no anti-vehicles for him yet. Meryl and Reforce going to be taken up to tier 2 themselves, and with the generator farm being burnt down on the top side, we should see a nice power income spike, I guess, from SPL. Not a power income spike, rather, but a power income difference. Chimera going to be driving up the ramp. They could try and get a counter bash here. There's not too much to actually defend the power other than the Sentinel now at this point. Drop pod is going to be cast down here. It's going to be some reinforcement tactical marines here for Forge Father. And Chimera is going to back it up there into the enemy generator farm. I heard some flamer upgrades going to go down. I can't imagine the Guardsmen getting flamers this late in the game though. You know, Sentinel on the mid side there, going to be capturing in Dreadnought, Plague Marines, and some more Guardsmen here for Reef. Did lose the Guardsman squad earlier to the poison from the APO. Going to be reinforcing that squad into tier 2. We'll likely see the Commissar and Sergeant upgrade coming for the squad shortly. That's going to be Tactical Marines, the one that are equipping the Flamers. Going to allow them to burn down Generator Farm even quicker, although maybe not needed this late in the game, as the armies are just quite large in size that the Flamer may not actually have been required. Yeah, they'll still be good against Guardsmen if the Tactical Marines are able to close the gap nonetheless. Chaos Sorcerer on the bottom side, trying to do what he can. Level 2, no war gear for him yet today, but against 2 Imperial Guard players, we could see the Curse of Siege war gear upgrade come in for him. Allows them to deal some increased damage against them. Meanwhile, Plasma Gun upgrade here for the Guardsmen of outside, going to be able to tear through the Chaos Army. These Noise Marines taking a lot of damage there. Going to be forced off, although the Guardsmen groups up quite a lot. And taking a lot of damage here from the Sentinel. Going to fall back to the Chimera and will be able to reinforce the damage there. Lord General is also quite low, does have the Melter Gun upgrade, so it does have a very short range in comparison to when he just has the Bolter equipped. Meanwhile, Chimera with some more reinforcements here for St. Kelly, a Noxious Cloud. The Guardsmen need to get inside the Chimera as quickly as possible, don't want to retreat through the Noxious Cloud and don't want to tank it either. Plague Marine squad actually going to fall altogether. That's quite a big loss there. The Plague Marines are very tanky. Should have been able to last a little bit longer in this very first engagement. And Tactical Marines are free to push in a little bit further with only a Guardsman squad to kind of hold the area. Generator Farm has already been burnt down, so the Chimera might decide to make its way towards a different side of the map now. Could try and go in for the bottom side Power Bash. Chaos Sorcerer Gazcool is in control of one Generator Farm and does also have an additional generator on the contested power. This was stolen away from... In fact, actually no, sorry, he's not in control of this. He has some heretics which are going to try and take control of this, in fact. Misread it, just assumed that because he was in the area, he was actually in control of it. Tier 3 though for Forge Father. Could see some early Terminators, but he doesn't have enough red for them at the moment. So potentially going to be a Predator. Should help them chase down the Dreadnought on the bottom side of the map. Chimera taking a lot of damage here. The Auto Cannon Dreadnought going to try and do what it can. Meanwhile, a Reinforcement Chimera is going to come in. Dark Flames going to cut the Guardsman away there, not wanting to walk through it to reach the Chimera. The Dreadnought is no longer focusing down that Chimera. It is so low as well. A single salvo would have finished that off, but it's going to switch focus though to the Chimera of outside, and some Stormtroopers are going to come in. This Dreadnought may potentially go down now. Lord General also have Melter Guns equipped. A second Stormtrooper squad with full energy is on the field and ready to go. Another Melter Bomb can get tossed down, but is not going to be needed. Will still get used nonetheless. And the 2 Chimeras are going to live to fight another day. 308 VPs to 249. Purification Vials going to land on top of these guards. Once again, the area is going to be inflicted there with poison. It will now spread thanks to that one Guardsman squad getting caught out, and some Plague Marines have been reinforced on the field there. Noise Marines though going to try and do what they can to soften up these guardsmen, but with 2 chimeras on the field, reinforcements are going to be pretty strong here. Lord General though is going to fall down. Can be quite expensive to carry on losing units like this though, but we'll see if the guardsmen can just out damage and win the engagement. Those marines no longer in range though. Stormtroopers are going to be backing away here, but if Wigglytuff Guild advance a bit further forward, they are going to get inflicted there. Noise Marines actually catching the Blastmaster shot there. Looks like it hit a bit of terrain though. Noise Marines now misfiring. They are quite tanky. They are behind some cover. They should be able to get another shot onto these guardsmen though. Actually going to aim for the left-hand side there. A bit unfortunate for Merrill. Could have had a nice juicy target had they aimed for the leaders of both squads there. Overall though, Wigglytuff Guild able to push through, break the top line once again. We'll be able to burn down the entire generator farm. 260 VPs, 249. The VPs have remained fairly even throughout this game there. When one team loses some VPs, the other one seems to instantly catch up. Predator going to be called in here for Forge Father. I actually have a late game Bane Wolf here for St. Kelly. Didn't realise that he had a Bane Wolf. Must have been a fairly recent purchase. Predator now approaching the field though. Quite a lot of vehicles on a team of Red Team. Meanwhile, for SPL, we don't actually have that much AV for them. We do have some Plague Marines and the Blastmaster Noise Marines, but nothing to really hard counter vehicles other than Plague Marines. Could see some last cannons and heavy weapons teams come in for them though, especially with the Bane Wolf, the 2 Chimeras, and now a Predator. And things are looking pretty positive here for Wigglytuff Guild, able to get a secure onto the natural VP. It's going to be a triple cap for them soon, so Sojuz Paradox League are going to need to try and make a big push there to try and regain some ground soon. Predator now out of the field, focusing down that Sentinel. Could try and chase it down. Sentinel is one of the main sources of AV at the moment for Sojuz Paradox League, so if that gets taken down, then it's going to be much more difficult fighting all these vehicles. Going to be some Mark Horn CSM, but the Bane Wolf coming in with the counter though, actually going to slow him down altogether and prevent any sort of further chase, and SPL are able to secure their natural, but for how long I wonder. Merrill is going to be advancing out here a little bit. Some guardsmen are firing away. The Chimera is trying to do a bit of a trick here, doing a little 360. The Bane Wolf is going to rejoin the fight. These Noise Marines though hitting terrain once again. The Bane Wolf will need to be careful. These double heretics though are going to melt to the Bane Wolf. Going to be forced into a retreat here. The Bane Wolf is fairly tanky, coming in with 600 HP. They can get repaired up by the guardsmen fairly easily, although it does need to be careful, does need to back away here. Plague Marines just need one more shot and it will fall down. They are going to be able to get outside the range of the Blastmaster. Blastmaster shot missing altogether in fact. And Apo just going to lead the charge in here. Going to get knocked over by the Blastmaster. Is the Blastmaster focusing ground? Because its targeting is a bit odd at the moment. Going to be switching focus out to these Tactical Marines. The Apo is going to take a bit too much damage and will be forced away. No weapon upgrade for him at the moment, but could see the Power Axe upgrade come in as he begins fighting the Chaos Armies. A nice shot though onto the Guardsman and brings him down to almost no HP. The Inquisitor going to cast down a Hell Fury Strike. Going to force off some of these squishier units of the army, but overall it looks like Wigglytuff Guild have managed to break the line here and will be able to get a re-secure on the natural VP. Sentinel on the top side, getting low again for a reef there. And SPL unable to push any further. We actually have a second Predator being built there by Forge Father. His army is massive. I believe he's on the highest supply in the game there. 99 supply out of 100. Leading in terms of army size at the moment. It's hard to control when you have a large army. These Mark Horn CSM going to lead the engagement, but I'm not really sure what they're going to be able to do here. They actually run in on forced off immediately. Of the Sparring Champion to come in, so the squad will live overall. Double Heretics going to take quite a bit of damage here from the Bane Wolf. The Bane Wolf is going to take a bit of damage, is exposing rear armor to the fist of the Plague Champion, but will be able to make it out there safely. Meanwhile, Sentinel taking a lot of damage there is going to die. I'm not sure if the last cannon was one to finish off the shot, but regardless, the Sentinel would have died. Sometimes the heavy weapons teams can do friendly fire. I'm not sure if that bug has been fixed as of yet. Stormtrooper is going to melt there on the back line, and the Predator has advanced to the forward one. Guardsmen are going to try and do what they can, but There's not really much to counter this Predator. Chimera going to drive into the back of the Predator there. You need to be careful about having so many vehicles on the map there. You need to be careful about how the pathing is going to work. These guardsmen retreating away though. Should have probably just got inside the Chimera instead. Blast Monster Shot going to come in and going to miss. We have a creeping barrage going to come in, going to force the guardsmen inside the Chimera for a short amount of time until the creeping barrage does pass over. 30 VPs for SPL. They're trying to make their last stand, but it's now a triple cap against them. I don't think they've got any units in the area close enough. I can get a capture here. There is nothing on the top side. It's all on the mid side here, and even if they are able to secure their natural, still going to be a 2-to-1 cap against them. This does mean that in game number 3, Wigglytuff Guild are going to come in to secure a point against them at the very least. However, the score overall still going 2-to-1 towards SPL's favour. With this series over, I'm just going to ask Boogie, because I think there was meant to be a 2v2 series as well, but I'm not sure between which clans. Whether it's going to be between Wigglytuff Guild and Sojuz Paradox League. Variation when you get past the first 2 common maps. However, starting into the game, Sojuz Paradox League on the blue side of the map, Oceans 8 Alaska, going to be a Lord General, was picking random, and also picking random was Boogie, who's going to be randoming the Hive Tyrant. On the red side, on the Wigglytuff Guild side, we've got JGL going to be playing as a Chaos Lord here, going to be ignoring both requisition points, just going to go straight in for the kill by the looks of it, and we have outside going to be playing as an Apothecary. I think he was playing as the Apothecary in the previous game as well, in the 3v3 series, so we'll see how things change up here. Now that it's going to be a 2v2, that Chaos Lord just going straight for the VP though. Really wants to get that early VP advantage, and especially as they're going to capture their natural VP, should give them a nice little boost in the early stages of the game. Should relieve any sort of pressure and start applying pressure to your opponent, making the VPs bleed pretty early on. You can even see the Apo. Does look like he's going for the center VP here, so it looks like they've got a bit of a strategy worked out maybe. Chaos Lord is going to receive some Corn Worship there, unable to capture the VP in time. He's going to go straight for that Lord General. Kill the Weak will go down, will catch out the lead model. Not going to heal up the Chaos Lord enough though for him to remain in the fight. And overall, it does look like Oceans should be able to win the engagement and actually takes out one of the rescue members there of the Lord General. Heretics are trying to sit behind some yellow cover as best as possible, but now exposing themselves, they are going to lead the charge here. Going to go after that Lord General, but Lord General behind some green cover. The CSM are going to struggle to advance any further. They can sit behind some green cover themselves. They can also opt to try and force melee against the Guardsmen, however, the safer option would be for them to sit behind green cover themselves. And we do actually have Boogie going to go in for a decap there on the natural VP, so the early VP advantage is going to quickly be forfeited. Apo going to be running in here. Could see an early Purification Vial purchase for him against the Tyranid army. Can be a bit difficult though to try and get a decent Purification Vial off those, especially that Tyranids do have the ability to decrypting poison. Once Termagants do get upgraded, they can lock the Apo down in place, meaning that it has to do a maximum grenade throw, making it a bit easier for you to avoid. Going to be some very early shotgun upgrades though for these scouts. Going to struggle to actually make use of them. And wow, that spot is low, but still 3 models. Nicely done there by outside. You know, Tactical is also going to be forced away here. Going to be 2 Sentinels though for Oceans. Now going to be 2 CSM squads on the field, and going to be a combi flamer as well, so some decent range damage coming in here from JGL, but 2 Sentinels is definitely annoying for Chaos to deal with in the early stages of the game. The Chaos Lord is going to receive twice as much stomping action, assuming both Sentinels do have their stomp ability equipped. Chaos Lord though just going straight in for these Guardsmen. The 2 Sentinels should be able to kite fairly easily. But the Chaos Lord is just picking off model after model there, and that combi flamer does increase the amount of damage that he can deal to 30 in range. Does get a little bit low, but overall is going to force off these Sentinels here. Without any repair support, the Sentinels are going to be able to be a bit careful about trying to poke their heads in. You know, Purification Vials have been purchased there for the Apo, but we do actually have a counter, a bit of a bash here from Boogie. Actually nodes up the enemy power to try and deny it even further. Generator farms for them have not fully completed yet. We only got 2 generators for them. You know, we do have triple generators getting placed down there for the Wigglytuff Guild. 2 CSM. Imagine we'll see the Eternal War upgrade come in from them. Does increase their damage by 20%, both in melee and range. can help them at picking off these guards and models and make a bit more of a threat against the Sentinels should they try and push in a bit too far. CSM though, still exposed out in the open, will be forced into a retreat. The second one had abandoned them to go capture this power on the back line, and we do have some Havocs on the way out. Havocs should also lock the Sentinel in place, preventing them from going in for an aggressive stomp against the Chaos Army. How many Sentinel? Nice, actually picking off a model there on the CSM squad. In need of some repairs. 2 guards on squads to repair 2 Sentinels. Should be back into the fight though in a moment.
So the generator is online.
Do have some Devastators making their way out. However, Ravenous had already hit the field at that time. May have been worth potentially cancelling it and going for another tactical mean squad. But Havocs are still going to be good nonetheless. Or Devastators rather, sorry, are going to be good nonetheless. Ravenous though keen on top of the Chaos Army there. These Heretics trying to do what they can, but that's a lot of damage coming down to them. That is going to be a dead Heretic squad. They took a lot of damage by the looks of it on Doom Blast being cast. Almost like multiple models exploded at the same time. Apo though, with the Purification Vials, does need to be careful when approaching both armies at the same time. He's going to be unable to throw down the Purification Vials aggressively. We'll need to wait for the army to push against them, but unlikely to happen since most of the army for Sojuz Paradox League is ranged. Double CSMs though going to try and create an opportunity here. That one Sentinel is incredibly low. Stomp is going to come in at the very last second. 20 HP, the Sentinel does back away there. Apo rejoining the fight, but he is low himself. We'll need to be careful. He could get picked around by these guardsmen just turning around and focusing them down there. And will do so. Chaos Lord should be able to get a res on the Apos in a fairly easy position to res. Apo can alternatively wait as well for the Laramon's Blessing Global to come in, or for enough red for the Laramon's Global upgrade. Not upgrade, sorry, but Global. Lord General trying to do what he can to tie up these CSM. Havocs are forced to reposition. Hive Tyrant is half health though. Lord General is trying to reinforce in the field as desperately as possible. Does have another rescue model. Is going to provide a small amount of tankiness. Is going to get another rescue model. Still on the field there. A big flank from the Tyranid army is going to catch out some additional CSM members. 476 VPs, 350. Things are looking a little bit grim there. 2 models still alive on the CSM squad despite being down to just 25 HP. And we do have SPL going to be making their way towards mid. Raptors going to be called in for JGL, however SPL both taken up to tier 2. WTG are quite far behind in terms of tech, with outside just on 60 power. Just noting their second generator farm. Now they've not actually had that for the majority of the game, so they are a little bit lackluster in power. Both sets going to be healthy fairly soon. Tyranid army just going to make its way towards the natural VP. Going to actually bash the power node here. Going to keep them locked down into tier 1, and as tier 2 approaches, a faster vehicle can put an end to this game potentially. Double sense there, just going straight for these scouts. Scouts are very vulnerable to 2 sentinels when firing against it. Brings it down to a third HP, but the Apo not really wanting to use the heal against them just yet though. Apo though, back on the field, is going to remain on the field at 170 HP. Could try and get a Purification Vial thrown onto the army. It will get thrown down, but it's actually going to maybe affect his army a little bit more. Not wanting the risk of spread poison. We do actually have Boogie just retreating all the way back to base. Meanwhile, we do actually have Oceans pushing in from a bit of an awkward angle here. We do have some early plasma gun upgrades here. Going to be very effective against the very, pretty much all heavy infantry army based. All heavy, well, I can't even say the sentence properly. Against the army of JGL, which is all heavy infantry armor based. Raptors going to try and do what they can. Havocs are going to be forced away. The Guardsmen do have Commissars as part of the squad, so they can retreat and then try and break retreat a bit later, but Chimera on the field there means they can just out-reinforce any sort of damage that being dealt to them at the moment. Lord General trying to do what he can there. And just leaves the Chaos Lord. Already Apo is coming in here. Purification Vials were used a little bit earlier. He's going to get thrown down once again. He's going to deny that particular bit of ground, but overall is going to have too much of an impact. The Lord General though is so low, down to 19 HP. Even the rescue model is still alive there as part of the squad. We do have tier 2 now being teched up by Wigglytuff Guild. ASM's getting chewed apart there by some Homogods to fall back to these Devastators. Could potentially see the Vengeance Rounds upgrade come in here for outside. Try and counter that Hive Tyrant as he gets in a bit too close. Ravener's actually able to get the knockback there. Kind of at maximum range. These ASM so bravely jumping in. The Hive Tyrant has got the Crushing Claw upgrade, so we'll be able to pick apart that model at the very least. Psychic Extreme is going to go down. It's going to reduce the damage of these ASMs, and they're committed a little bit too hard to this fight. Do try and retreat away, but are going to fall down to these Homogods and the Crushing Claw of the Hive Tyrant. Meanwhile, Raveners are disruptive on the backline. Actually knock over these Devastators. That may actually lead to them. Yeah, they will actually finish off the squad. Tracking rounds being activated, but no heavy infantry for them to focus down. Are going to try and pick apart what they can, but Raveners already on top of them. Hive Tyrant and Homogods there will make short work of a particular model. Hive Tyrant though is going to ignore that though. Meanwhile, a lot of ground here being lost for Wigglytuff Guild. That should be a full generator bash here for the Tyranid army. Thank you, Nerland, for the host. Homogod's going to start bashing away at the power here, and I'm not really sure what outside can do in this particular game to try and re-come back. Meanwhile, in the center there, we do have Oceans kind of just grouping up there. Chaos Army has made his way over with some CSM, but some Roadhouse just tends to be placed down everywhere, and Boogie will just fall back. We do have a Tyrant Guard approaching the field as well, just leaving the base at the moment, so it's going to be pretty annoying. There's no Plasma Gun upgrade for these Tactical Marines as of yet. Likely to see one though in response to the Tyrant Guard hitting the field. Could even see the Inferno round upgrade or the Mark of Tzeentch upgrade for these CSM as well. Meanwhile, the Double Sentinels, both upgraded with the Missile Launcher, can actually do quite a lot of burst damage to heavy infantry. Tyrant Guard is going to charge in here, is going to knock over a couple of Tactical Marine models there. Charging in from maximum range, creeping Basilisk Barrage is going to come in at units actually getting knocked into the barrage there. Nice little combo. Meanwhile, Plasma Gunfire actually doing friendly fire damage as opposed to enemy damage there. The squad is going to be forced away there. And with the army grouped up with the Chimera supporting the Tyranid army as well, it could be quite brutal. Purification Vials do land on this rear Termagant squad, however the Termagants might be able to reinforce if they get close enough to the Chimera. Overall, only going to lose a couple of models and should be fine for the remainder of the fight. With the entire power now getting bashed there by Wigglytuff Guild's side, it looks like Sojuz Paradox League are going to be able to take game number 1 in this game. Do have a bit of a counter push here from the Chaos Lord, but it's still going to be a 2-0 cap, or 2-1 cap rather. And VPs are going to remain trickling down. Tier 3 now for Boogie as well. Tier 3 for Oceans too. Could see a Lehman Russ get called in. Currently doesn't have enough red for it though, but a Lehman Russ can always just get purchased as opposed to being called in. Meanwhile, Carnifex is going to be the likely choice. This last cannon is doing some work, some repairs are going to come in at the last second. Actually able to snipe the Chimera there. Getting those rear armor hits, very effective. Ocean's not too happy about that in the chat. Meanwhile, Double Sentinels though. DCSM pretty much needing to remain on the move if they don't want to take too much damage from the burst of 6 missiles hitting the ground at the same time. Meanwhile, Raptors just bashing away there at the generator farm. Going to be the Standguard Veteran upgrade for these Tactical Space Marines. Hive Tyrant going to come in here. Plus, it's actually managing to arc it over the Hive Tyrant. Rather than hitting the Hive Tyrant himself, the Apo going to be a bit outmatched here. Psychic Extreme does go down to reduce the damage of the nearby units. Tyrant Guard and the Hive Tyrant just going to pick apart these models. The heal has already been used. Actually, the heal hasn't been used. The Apo is currently full health at the moment, but the heal isn't going to help out too much. The units are still going to lose that engagement. Tier 3 now complete on Sojuz Paradox League's side. We do have a Chaos Dreadnought on the field though for JGL.
So the generator is online.
Not sure how effective the Dreadnought is going to be given that there are 2 Sentinels on the map, both upgraded with the Missile Launcher upgrade. Meanwhile, that is a dead CSM squad. The Hive Tyrant able to special it onto the ground, and the Hive Tyrant with the Tyrant Guard also eating away at it. Going to be a bit too much for it to handle. And wow, damage from just 2 attacks there against these scouts is quite a lot. Apo currently dead on the field there. I'm not sure when the Apo died. Actually died fairly close to base, so could see a res from the Chaos Lord. Does also have enough red to use the Larimer's Blessing Global as well to reinforce the commander or repurchase the commander. That Dreadnought has taken quite a bit of damage. JJ lost his Heretics in the earlier stages of the game, doesn't actually have any repairs at the moment. Will need to rely on his allies to repair the Dreadnought back up to full HP. Or will need to buy some Heretics so he can actually repair it himself. Chaos Lord does actually go for a res here against the Apo, but the Tyrant Guard is still tearing up the back line here. Plasma Dev's going to fire once again, demolishing that particular Ravener model. Sentinel, though, are going to be able to take down the Chaos Dreadnought on the field. Chaos Lord on the field, trying to do what he can on the back line. The Sentinel's upgrade with the missile launcher does make it harder for them to work against single targets. And actually managing to arc it and hit the Tyrant Guard there. Plasma Devastators doing some work where possible. Raptors though going to come in once again and try and do what they can. There is no Inspiring Champion to lead them. Actually going to lose some models there. They even go down as an entire squad, down to just 7 HP. We'll be able to barely make it out of there alive. Going to be a triple cap shortly, I'd imagine. A lot of ground has been gained on the other side of the map. It's actually a 2-0 cap against him at the moment with 100 VPs remaining. A Swarm Lord is being purchased by Boogie as well. Swarm Lord is going to be able to go around the map fairly uncontested. There's only one source of AV on the side of red team at the moment. It's going to be a bit difficult for them to take down a Swarm Lord if it is able to make an impact in this game. VPs may tick down before it can actually reach the field. That Lord General though, being a bit too eager, does manage to reinforce at the last second there, gain some extra residue models out on the field. He's able to turn tide against this Chaos Lord and just rippers in base, being annoying as ever. Ravener should go for the VP here, and there is no power on the side of red team at the moment. CSM are getting replaced, but with a Swarm Lord approaching the field, or with it on the field at the very least, it's going to be a bit difficult for Wigglytuff Guild to remain in this game. VPs are still ticking down with 30 remaining. They will need to make a push sooner rather than later. Do have outside trying to push out his base where possible, but JGL is locked in space by Oceans. I don't think he can break this at all. Just down to now 16 VPs at Machine Gun Kelly 12. I will be uploading the casts, or the stream from today to YouTube, but will take a couple of days time to go onto there, as there's some other videos already set to come out before then. But if you have a look on the channel within a week's time at the very least, they should all be on there. But unless I get the, what's it called? If the channel gets enough viewers, it does allow me to, or does allow people to turn down the quality of the stream, because I know it's like set to as high as it can get. But SPL are going to be taking game 1 of the 2v2 series here. It's going to be another 2 games regardless of if SPL win game number 2. So unlike a typical best of 3 where it's just the first 1 to 2 wins, it's going to be just who can take as many points as physically possible in all 3 games. SPL did win their 3v3s early, going 2-1, or gaining 2 points, with Wigglytuff Guild gaining 1 point themselves. So we'll see if that score is going to repeat itself in the 2v2 events as well. So just going to wait for Boogie to get another game hosted, and then we'll be jumping into game 2 shortly. At Oceans, you should be ashamed for not going 3 Sentinels as opposed to just double Sentinel. I don't know if anyone remembers, like, long time ago anyway, when before I took a break from streaming, or a massive break from streaming, going the triple sense build. Well, but I think Freeman and Adeptus also went triple Sentinels, so we'd have 9 Sentinels just roaming around the map. That was pretty nasty to play against, especially if you're the person being picked on at a particular time. Then you just go into a repair bunker into tier 2. You just got 9 Sentinels, and then as soon as you take up to tier 2, you just all go to missile launch upgrade, and you can pretty much wipe squads instantly. If all 9 of your Sentinels with the missile launch upgrade all focus down that particular squad, unless they retreated away in time, that squad would most likely be dead. Any vehicle would also fall fairly easily, as you can imagine, 9 Sentinels focusing it down. So still waiting for Boogie to get this 2v2 hosted. Although shows that he's... nope, he is in the game at the moment. I'm assuming that he's going to be taking a short break of some sort, maybe? Oh, the strategy was fairly disgusting at the time. That's what made the strategy be so fun. I'm going to join Boogie's lobby as opposed to Ocean's lobby. There's loads of ridiculous builds, which I'd like to do more of when I actually come around to play the game. At the moment, I've probably played about 25 games or something, maybe this year. It tends to just be me casting games as opposed to actually playing the games. Guxus has joined the lobby, however Guxus not currently wearing any clan tags at the moment. So I'm going to assume that he's not part of either clan. So just waiting for... oh man, I'm really bad with names. I keep forgetting who was playing in the previous game now. It wasn't Legionator, it was... damn, who was it now? Not quite with it tonight. Who was on Wigglytuff's guild side, guys? I've completely forgotten. My mind's gone blank. Or is Guxus actually going to be taken over? I don't know. See if we can force Guxus into wearing a clan tag if he's going to be playing in the game. As we were doing yesterday. Not yesterday, sorry, day before. Guxus gets to sit above wearing a clan tag. We can just Photoshop one in later, I guess. Oceans wanting medium cliff mines. I was mentioning earlier how medium cliff mines and Caldera is just the standard, typical 2v2 maps that everyone always goes for. It's always fun when it's a best of 5 series or a best of 3 series that goes to game 3 in a 2v2. Just because it means that you can actually get a different map other than Median and Calderis, even if players don't like playing on them. Because they are a bit favoured maybe towards one side or the other, it just makes it a bit more interesting. But appears Boogie has gone on the run once again. Is that where Boogie keeps disappearing off to go smoke? Tell him to either quit or just bring his computer outside when he goes and smokes. I wonder if Boogie's also going to be swapping from random to something else now that Agu has joined the game. Right, this does mean Outside and Agu are going to have map choice this game. As much as Oceans has asked for median cliff mines. Unless that's the same map that Outside and Aguxus want. It's not the map's going to be played. Let's see what they go for though. I wonder if they will just go for median cliff mines. Gux is saying that he... Wait, we're talking about Adilla here? Yeah, we are talking about Adilla here. And it's going to be Meridian. Wait, Meridian different to Median. I can't remember now. I mean, Median Glyph Mines has been picked. I don't think there was a map called Meridian. Unless I'm getting confused, something else. And Boogie picking Electro Alpha. Nope, going to go back to random. Countdown has now started. Countdown has been instantly cancelled. As we now enter game 2 in this best of, well, not best of 3 series, but in this free game series. As all 3 games are going to be played regardless of if SPL do win game number 2 as well. This is a points-based system, so clans are just trying to earn as many points as possible by winning as many games as possible. And sign off on Sojuz Paradox side, the blue side, we've got Boogie going to be playing as a Warp Spider Exarch. This game was playing as random and did random this. Oceans changing from random to a Warlock. Going to be a double Elder army versus Wigglytuff Guild, which we have outside going to be sticking to Lord General. And Aguxus is going to be randoming a Commando Nob. If Aguxus is listening onto the stream, I'd like to see a grappling hook and kaboom combination, because that's always good fun to watch, and I always could do some more top plays footage if you are able to pull it off. Straight away, the Commando Nob going to go towards the mid side of the map. Warp Spider trying to teleport in here, but going to be met with a Sentinel. Ocean's not happy about facing Agu in his lane. We'll see what he can do against the Commando Nob. Warp Spider though going to just take a defensive teleport. Does do a bit of damage to the Sentinel, but will be easily repaired up. Commando Nob exiting that green cover to try and get some shots in. Is able to fire at these Dire Avengers though. The Commando Nob's burst is quite annoying to go against. It's about 100 damage per burst. So you can definitely pick apart models quite easily with him. Stun Bomb is going to go down. It's going to be thrown in such a way. We'll try and deny some cover here to Oceans, and it looks like Agu is going to be able to advance a bit further. A nice destructor from a flank here from the Warlock. Going to force these sluggers out of the fight, and Agu is going to be forced into a mass retreat here. Generators have been placed down already. As Ocean's gone for a bit of a later, earlier build, I guess, going for just a single Diver squad and single Banshees. Do see some Rangers on the field. Can potentially see a Guardian Weapons team going for the 1-1-1-1 build. But that is still the thing. But Rangers on the field, likely see the Pathfinder War Gear here before getting another unit out. Triple Gens have just been placed down by outside there after poking down this power node. And here's the Pathfinder War Gear coming in already. Rangers though sitting very far back, could try and push up a bit more. But should be able to detect the Commando Nob, should also be able to poke down these sluggers if they try and run into combat, allowing the Banshees to kind of just sit back. Let Dire Avengers and Hawk Spider just fire away here. Guardian Weapons team has set up though. Sentinel is taking a massive amount of damage there. A triple Dire Avengers on the field. It's trying to get away. Is actually going to fall down at the last second there. Maximum range. Crack shot was used onto the Guardian Weapons team to give it some increased range. It is set up a bit of an awkward angle. Grenades getting thrown down as well. Grenades are not going to be enough to finish off the Guardsmen, but definitely helping pick apart these models. And it's going to be the Lord General by himself here, going to be overwhelmed by the masses of fire from all these Dire Avengers. Agu is pushing in here, but we do have the Guardian Weapons team getting ready to reset up again. Sets up in the wrong direction, turns around, is driving around, is going to set up over here instead. Does force the Guxus into a retreat there, and from here we can actually see a bit of a push against power here from SPL.
Adding support structure.
Generator farms have been placed down fully on the side of Wigglytuff Guild. Meanwhile, the power node is only getting repurchased and now here for SPL. And Triple Dire Avengers make their way towards the bottom side. Only 2 Guardsmen and the Lord General to compete. Will struggle without that Sentinel to help pick apart at these models. Triple energy shields could even go down here, and Boogie could try and turstle up on the bottom side of the map and try and apply some pressure against these generators. I see there is a grenade ready, actually in for a full retreat here, getting a decap onto the VP, deciding not to push in any further. Meanwhile, the Pathfinder War Gear on the Rangers, allowing the army to infiltrate. Warlock will expose himself, but the Commander Nob just going to go straight for the VP, which is uncontested at the moment, so Oceans will need to apply some pressure there. It's actually going to be a double push here. The Orc army has not been seen as of yet, so should be able to sneak in here. As a response, Banshees can be left on this side to just bash power. We do have some Dire Avengers starting to chip away at it now. And Slugger's going to infiltrate towards the mid-side, but the Rangers should be able to pick it up should they get too close to Ocean's army. Guardian Weapons team going to switch focus. Nicely done there by Boogie. Going to be focusing down the Shooter Boy squad. The grenade does get thrown down. Another grenade does get thrown down. Both grenades, though, unfortunately going to miss. And third grenade is going to get thrown down. Will be avoided, but it's causing a loss of disruption on the back line. But Sluggers are coming in, but Banshees are ready to engage immediately after. The Guardian Weapons team is low. The 2 models are quite far behind. It's likely to go down here. It's so low that these 2 models on the lead need to focus it down, though. Meanwhile, Lord General trying to do what he can. Sluggers unable to kill the Guardian Weapons team. It is going to just about survive there with 1 model. No retreat grenades are available for these Sluggers, as all 3 grenades were used in the midst of that fight. Lord General, though, quite low. 1 HP, not teleport might be able to come in, but Lord General is made too much ground there, going to be unable to be chased. And as the flank didn't work out too well, we do actually have the power bash still going on, although the generators haven't gone down at the moment. There's still 3 generators there available. I think 1 was replaced by Agu, though. Guardian Guardian Weapons team is going to get knocked down. They are going to try and set up an awkward position. The two models for the Guardian Weapons team, though, are sitting very far forward, and the suppression is not landing on these shooters. The squad is able to just about make it out there with 20 HP. Banshees onto the flank there. The Commander Knob going to be able to get away safely thanks to the shooters. A big shooter suppressing the Banshees at the last second.
An ally has gained control of the victory.
Warlock, though, maybe a bit too aggressive here inside the base of the Cuxus at the moment. Artillery spotters, though, going to be very nice against the Triple Dire Avengers and also against the Guardian Weapons team, though. War Spider is going to go in. Is currently not forcing melee against the squad, but is amongst the squads. Guardian Weapons team will set up and once again will resume bashing power. Some Dire Avengers are going to try and force melee there. Don't have an X-Arc leading them at the moment, so aren't going to have decent melee combat skill. The grenade will get thrown down, however it's going to be avoided. In tier 2, likely to see the entangling web upgrade of the Warp Spider, allowing him to lock down a particular squad in place. When the squad is locked down in place, you can then throw triple grenades onto a particular squad, or just throw down a one grenade at the very least. Can be quite useful. It forces the squad into retreating or to eating a grenade. These Dire Avengers, though, take a lot of damage. Guardian Weapons team is still stunned. We'll need to reset up once again, but the Commander Knob is going to tie him up in melee. But we do have some sluggers there, going to finish off these Dire Avengers on retreat. And with the Dire Avengers now down, you might see Oceans change it up into tier 2. May decide to replace the Dire Avenger squad if he decides to get a Falcon out on the field. If he does get a Falcon out on the field, could always drive to the other side actually and rely on Boogie to repair it constantly. But any Dire Avengers of his own has to rely on his teammates to do the repairs instead. The entire generator farm has been bashed out on the red side, but we do have Chimera already on the field. A war truck for a Guxus, so transports for both players there. Meanwhile, Boogie has decided to go for some Wraithguard here. Wraithguard are going to be missing their first salvo. Guardsmen have vacated the Chimera, will re-enter before the second salvo goes down, but Boogie is able to land a hit onto the Chimera. While Wraithguard are incredibly inaccurate and you need to spend most of your time actually attacking ground just to make the shots hit. When they do land their shot, it is incredibly devastating. Banshees, though, going to lose to these sluggers, actually going to lose the entire squad there. Warlock is going to try and jump into the fight though, but a little bit too late. That Knob leader is just tearing up the Warlock there, actually finishes him off as well. Warp Spider can make his way towards the other side. There is no vehicle though for Boogie, so having to walk his entire army to the other side instead of driving over to the other side. The truck is now to the field, and it's going to be revealing itself after driving over that shield, I believe. Or Rangers would have spotted that as well. We do have a very aggressive position here. Did he teleport his army? No, he's just walked over there. Boogie chasing the Chimera to in between the two bases there. Will be forced into a mass retreat before he might have just teleported his army to that side instead. Speaking of teleporting the army, could also be a good war gear choice here for Boogie to try and get a flank against the Dilla. The map is incredibly tiny, so you are able to get to most places. The truck will unload, but the sluggers were still back at base, so we won't see a slugger flank come in once again. Guardian Weapons team is getting set up. Could see a Bright Lance upgrade come in for it to try and counter the vehicles rather than just relying purely on Wraithguard alone. However, the suppression is always good to have. Wraithlord on the field with a Bright Lance. Mounts it to its shoulder. Should be able to chase down the support vehicles fairly easily. Now going to collide with each other a little bit here. Do need to be careful about vehicle pathing in this game. And they will be able to regain their natural power once again. And it looks like we'll get a res on Oceans. Just down to the one power farm at the moment. Do have kind of half a power farm here for blue team, but blue team with the power advantage also being in control of mid, gaining a small amount of power here from this undernoded device. Chimera just driving around. Tier 3 though for Boogie. The war truck is going to come in. Rangers will need to be careful, can always walk towards Boogie's base for a bit of safety. It is currently not loaded with these sluggers at the moment. Bright Lance though from that Wraithguard. is going to be quite effective trying to chase down the War Truck. War Truck does also have the ability to buy some reinforced armor plating. Generally don't see it as often though. It can always be quite useful. Dire Avengers are just going to go around map capping the Commando Knob with no war gear as of yet, but is level 3 though. Just going to be very annoying, going to go around the map and capture up as much as he can. Going to be some tank busters vacating here from this War Truck, going to start focusing down that Wraith Lord. The Bright Lance, I think just 2 more shots should be enough to finish off the War Truck. Warp Throw though, going to bring these tank busters a little bit closer, but the Wraith Lord still staying in ranged combat as opposed to going in for a sword swing there. Could have potentially picked away at a model. Meanwhile, Wraith Guard tearing up some guardsmen. Does need to be careful though, this War Truck coming in, if loaded with sluggers, will tear through these Wraith Guard. The Guardsmen are grouped up quite a lot here, we need to be a bit careful. They can jump inside the Chimera to try and avoid some of these shots, but grenades are going to get thrown. These squads are suppressed, they can't actually dodge this grenade without retreating. A second grenade is going to get thrown down, but the reinforcements from Chimera are going to be a bit too much for them to finish off altogether. The War Truck though is so low. A grenade does get thrown at the feet of the Dire Avengers, hoping the War Truck would come a little bit closer, but the War Truck does not take the bait. The Bright Lance weapons team is going to fire away the Chimera. In fact, sorry, not Bright Lance weapons team, but the Wraith Guard, or Wraith Lord, sorry, Wraith Lord is actually able to finish it off, and wow, the Ethereal Slash coming in on top of these guardsmen, nearly wiping both squads, brings them down from full health to almost no health though. Ethereal Slash, always fun to use on retreat, does do melee damage, so very effective against units retreating away, or very effective against masses of infantry. Do have some stormtroopers on the field. Gux is going to be going to tier 3 as well. Do have some melter kit upgrades for these stormtroopers to try and fight this Wraith Lord, but the Wraith Lord generally has rangers nearby it at all times, so it is going to struggle. Heavy weapons team may have been a better choice here. Heavy weapons team can also equip the shield as well, which I believe does make them immune to the ranger pulse fire knockback. Commando Knob not quite getting the full salvo off onto that gate. Email Stormtroopers is actually going to be used to bash generators here for now. Boogie does respond by sending his entire army to come in here. We do actually have the Entangling Web upgrade as mentioned earlier on the Warp Spider X. That does lock down the Stormtrooper squad, force them into a retreat unless they wanted to tank a grenade from one of the Dire Avenger squads. War Truck though for Gux is still alive. Chimera is currently dead at the moment though. We'll need to be careful. The War Truck more fragile in comparison to Chimera having less health. A nice knockback though onto these sluggers, does knock them onto the ground. Line of Warp Spiders to carry on focusing them down, although the shooters coming in is going to overwhelm them with damage. Warp Spiders are incredibly fragile, very expensive to reinforce, so always want to keep them behind green cover as much as possible, or just retreat away from the fight because it's going to be hard to be cost efficient. Guardsmen are making their way towards the mid side at the moment, but Wigglytuff Guild not really wanting to commit to a fight too much here. Boogie's army in range is pretty scary. We actually have a looser tank out on the field, and Boogie's army is fairly grouped up. The Guardsmen though are going to fall, just taking far too much range damage there in the end. We have some Stormtroopers coming in for a flank, and that is a sound bug for me. A massive grenade spike so on top of these Stormtroopers is going to wipe the squad in its entirety. 437 VPs to 14.9, although I've got the sound bug, the game may potentially end before. And we do have the Entangling Web, they're going to lock down these sluggers. Wraith Lord going to try and do what they can. The camera movement going a bit odd there after selecting that squad. The Looser Tank is going to struggle here. The Bright Lance that's mounted to the shoulder of the Wraith Lord is going to be able to compete against the main turret. The Wraith Guard squad's been forced off though, so we'll see if it's able to finish it off. Some repairs are going to come in. The big shot is going to that. What was that commando call-in? That's going to be a commando call-in. And there is going to be another creeping barrage going to go down here. The commando is being called into a bit of a rough position there. Are going to be forced off, but it does buy some time. The looter tank should be able to chase down the Wraith Lord. The looter tank though is a little bit low. Could try and drive through the center of the map to try and cut off the Wraith Lord. It's actually going to drive through a Gux's army and may struggle with pathing here. Wraith Lord though is still within vision. The Wraith Rangers do try and infiltrate it as best as they can, but Ooh, might actually be able to come in for the counter kill here. Loose Tank, though, is able to get the shot it needs, but the power melee on the Warlock might be enough, down to just 12 HP. I don't think the Destructor is going to be enough either, and we do have some sluggers repairing it just about. Destructor doing 6 damage to it, wouldn't have killed it even if it didn't receive the repairs there from the sluggers, and that is going to be a crash report there on my desktop. Well, starting into the game though, we've got Sojuz Paradox League on the blue side. On the top side we've got Boogie playing as a Farseer, and we've also got Oceans playing as a Warlock. Meanwhile, on the Wigglytuff Guild side, we've got Outside playing as a Plague Champion, and Guxus was going to be a Farseer as well. I believe both Boogie and Guxus were random, so quite interesting that they would both get the Farseer. So it's the first time for me to actually see this map, so interesting to see how it's been designed. So kind of reminds me of Calderis in the sense that you got the natural VP on the slightly higher ground, and you got the center VP. We'll see how this game goes. A lot of elevation changes as well in this game. But Warlock going to cast down the Destructor on some Dire Avengers. And Farseer not actually getting knocked over there by the Warlock. But triple Dire Avengers, Banshees are going to struggle to get into melee combat this early on. We'll need to wait for an additional squad to actually have the tankiness to do so. And that Warlock going in a little bit too aggressively may actually go down here in the very first engagement. However, we do have a Farseer coming in from the other side of the map. We'll need to be a bit careful though. And it looks like Ocean's going to be forced off the field there. Banshees is still unable to come in. Guide has been used on these Dire Avengers. By the time the Banshees actually get into melee combat, they're going to be very softened up, and the Farseer will just come in from behind and should be able to finish off the squad. Dire Avengers are going to be forced into a retreat, but these Banshees are so low as is, with the CSM coming in for a bit of assistance. It's going to be a bit too much there, and they will retreat away. Boogie, though, could come in for a res. His Farseer is very healthy at the moment. There's not too much in the way to stop him. That Farseer, though, is very low. Fleet is going to... Well, not Fleet, but the charge is going to go in. And in response, Oceans going to laugh at Guxus there. The Farseer will be forced away, but the Plague Champion will be able to get the res, so Guxus still has the advantage in this particular engagement, getting his Farseer back online. However, for Red Team, though, with a 2-1 camp, going to have a small VP advantage. Do also have a about the same amount of map control, I suppose, at the moment. Do actually have an extra requisition point, though, coming in from Boogie on the other side of the map. Rangers already on the field. They're going to start chipping away at some Dire Avengers without their Pathfinder war gear, though, not having enough damage to have too big of an impact. We'll be able to pick away at one model, though. Pathfinder war gear is on its way, and they're just going to carry on poking down these Dire Avengers. You know, on the other side of the map, the CSM squad are going to lose a model there. We'll be able to... Banshees may be able to get away with all models alive. The Plague Champion's damage over time, though, very good at picking away models, but isn't going to pursue any further, just going to carry on advancing. Guardians Weapons team should be able to get set up fairly quickly. Heretics and the Plague Champion can try and walk in opposite directions, but the damage coming out of this thing is just immense. That is going to be one dead Heretic squad. The Guardian Weapons team was guided by the Farseer. I believe it was guided by the Farseer, I'm pretty sure I saw a yellow glow on there earlier. Plague Champion behind no such cover whatsoever. It looks like we might actually have a disconnect from outside. He's committing very hard to this engagement otherwise. Meanwhile, on the other side of the map, some Banshees getting forced away there. Rangers will take shield, and we'll be able to get away. It's actually going to be double Rangers here for Oceans. Both Ranger squads, though, very low. At Farseer, taking quite a bit of damage. But the Farseer not going to lead any models, so always want to try to focus down Dire Avengers where possible. Or you can also use it to focus down Commanders as well to soften them up, ready for the next engagement.
Our forces shall have tools for their tasks.
Outside, though, does replenish the Heretics on the field. However, is going to struggle without the Plague Champion for a little bit. We do have the Farseer currently on the other side of the map, but Aguxus can always make his way over to try and get a res on the Plague Champion. Overall, Aguxus probably in a stronger position. We do have shield going to go down here, so it's going to be a bit of a shield war. Currently, the shield is regenerating. I don't think Rangers do too much damage to shields. have Oceans having 2 sets of Rangers as opposed to 1 should be able to win if both Rangers are behind shields though, as he will be able to poke down the shield to some low health. We could see some retreat grenades coming in here. Dire Rangers do have the aspects of the Avenger upgrade and do have full energy, but no grenade is going to get thrown. The CSM squad is quite split up, so it would be quite difficult to wipe the entire squad with a single grenade. However, could have potentially picked away at a model that will save the grenade ready for the next engagement. Banshees are just flying in right now though. We have a combo tried there by Aguxus, but is actually going to fail to land. Warlock is able to pick away at a Ranger model. And overall, Ocean should be able to win the... Oh wow, actually picks off the Ranger squad there. 2 shots is going to finish it off. That's going to be a massive help there, but does also need to be careful about advancing these Rangers a bit too far there to have another attempted knockback grenade combo. In fact, Dire Rangers are going to go down here for Aguxus. There's 1 Ranger squad. In fact, it's actually going to be a full retreat there for Oceans. Does wipe the squad. It's going to be a massive advantage there to SPL. They've wiped several squads in this game. Good to see a retreat grenade on these heretics as well. Grenade does get thrown down, but a bit too late. Is going to miss there. Meanwhile, the power farm is going to get bashed. A bit of an awkward place to defend power as well, as it is walled off from your base a little bit, I guess. But even then, it's still fairly close to the base though. As mentioned before, the first time for me seeing this map, so it's actually quite cool getting to see a new 2v2 map in action. The entire generator farm though is going to fall. Boogie should be able to clear it up. Some Dire Avengers are preparing though for a flank, so this could actually change the game if Boogie is going to retreat in mass. He might have all his units grouped up a bit too close together. Does look like he will be retreating one at a time though, so these Dire Avengers may get wiped. Aguxus may decide to throw grenades or save the grenades for the Banshee squad instead. Elevation is going to make this a bit more difficult. It looks like it could go for the Banshees instead. 1 grenade is going to go down. A second grenade may get thrown. The elevation will make it a little bit harder though. Is going to just get 2 models on the Banshee squad in total. Was knocked over by the Rangers, so that second grenade was a bit delayed. You're not fast yet, just getting pokes down. Guide can also be used on the Rangers to increase their range by 30%, so you can get pretty ridiculous there. Can also make use of Farsight if your Rangers' range exceeds their visual range. Double CSM are going to be forced away here, and we do actually have a full generator farm getting replenished by Aguxus, but Guardian Weapons team and the Farseer together might just be able to rebash the power once again. Heretics are going to come in, but by themselves going to get caught out by the Guardian Weapons team and will be forced away here. And we have some Banshees just fighting Aguxus' power farm at the moment. This one a bit easier to defend here, as it is a bit more open. You also have some green cover to make use of. 1 generator may go down to these Dire Avengers, but it's going to take a little while to finish that off. Will fall down though. Farseer though, going to go in very aggressively here for Aguxus, going to start swinging her sword. Banshees are going to try and jump on top of her, and Rangers are in a position to try and defend. Rangers on the low ground, unable to fire at the Farseer. The Farseer is actually going to go down there. Meanwhile, Oceans' Farseer is going to start chasing down these Dire Avengers, and Rangers are going to push up a little bit. We could actually see the power get bashed once again. Meanwhile, Banshees are tearing down the other generator farm. Things are looking fairly positive here for SPL. Their armies are quite large in comparison in Tier 2 though for all players, but 2 Wraith Lords have approached the field. There is a Dreadnought being built by Outside and a Falcon by Aguxus, but the 2 Wraith Lords may have quite a large impact to begin the first engagement. Defensive pulse fire knockback there, going to knock the Dire Avengers before finishing off that particular Ranger model. Rangers are going to lose 1 model though to the CSM coming in for a bit of a flank and a resurrection onto the Farseer. Loses another Ranger model though, as it was not infiltrated. Need to be careful with just a single Ranger model on the field, but we'll actually retreat all squads. Going to be a Shuriken Cannon upgrade here for Boogie's Wraith Lord, realizing there's not a vehicle on the map to contest against. Actually going to go for the Shuriken Cannon, but as soon as that does finish, the Dreadnought is going to be visible. Shuriken Cannon is always still a good purchase nonetheless. There's plenty of infantry for it to focus down, and Wraith Lords now having the opportunity to start swinging away outside is going to lose some additional units though. Banshees will fall. CSM squad is incredibly low and has Banshees on a retreat path. Wraithlord is desperately trying to chase it. Plague Champion does fall. Banshee's going to get on top of that CSM squad, and I think Outside may lose most of his army here. CSM squad are able to get away as the Banshees were not able to get the correct pathing there. Down to just 20 HP. Dreadnought is in the center of the map, however, with 2 Wraith is actually going to fall down in the end though. The Chaos Dreadnought is deciding to upgrade, but in the middle of the fight though, it's going to take quite a lot of damage. The Mark of Tzeentch upgrade will be useful, but Banshees with the heavy melee X-Arc are coming in as well. We'll be able to get us around on the Dreadnought, and Dreadnought is not going to be able to... Yeah, that's actually cancel the upgrade here in the end. However, Bright Lance is also focusing it down with 2 Wraithlords chasing. That's going to be a dead Dreadnought. Doom has been cast here by Guxus onto Oceans as Banshees, but even then, that's not going to be able to turn the tide of the battle. We do actually have a shoulder-mounted Bright Lance here, and that Falcon is going to need to be a little bit careful. Guxus does have 2 Dire Avengers for some repair support, but the Falcon is going to struggle to try and go in and try and pick away or chip away at the units here. Going to be a triple cap now for Sojuz Paradox League, and they will now get the VP advantage. They were actually slightly behind. Plague Champion has been brought back onto the field. Do have the Armor of Pestilence being purchased for him. Does make him a bit slower, but does also make him incredibly tanky. They actually have a very far webway gate in place down here by Guxus. Able to do that as the Farseer. The Farseer does have the ability to use Farsight, does grant you vision of anywhere on the map for a small amount of red. Plague Champion trying to beat that one-man army is going to try and take on a Wraithlord by himself. Is going to lose this engagement though, and will need to retreat away, but may actually go down. Does retreat away a little bit too late, but due to the pathing of this Wraithlord, the Banshees are actually unable to pursue any further. Psychic Storm onto the retreat path though of this CSM squad. A grenade has been thrown down, however the models actually die before reaching said grenade. This means Outside is down to just the Plague Champion himself, and the Guxus with a lackluster army in comparison to both Eldar players on the other team is going to be a very tough one for them to try and win or try and come back in. Falcon is actually not really able to damage this Wraithlord when it's receiving repairs. It's able to do fairly well. We do have a guided Bright Lance though on the other side here, which is able to catch it out. The range on this Bright Lance is incredible. One more shot will do it, but the guide actually runs out. They can see the range just getting reduced at the last second. Falcon making it out though with 1 HP is going to go back to base for some last second repairs, and Fire Dragons are on the way, and some Chosen Plague Marines have been purchased, but Chosen Plague Marines are going to struggle with 2 Wraithlords on the field. The Shuriken Cannon is also going to be quite effective against the Plague Marines, not that it really gets much of a chance to fire when in melee combat. Farseer can also use Guide on the Wraithlord as well. Can increase the amount of damage the Wraithlord does deal, and that Plague Champion is going to be crushed by that sword. We do have some more webway gates getting placed down by Guxus, but I'm not sure Guxus can go in for a base kill with... I mean, he has got some Fire Dragons, and he's getting another squad of Fire Dragons, so...
The enemy has 200 points
No, but this has been detected by Oceans, and Oceans is going to make his way over. There is this webway gate over here, but there are so many base turrets that you can't actually get a flank whatsoever here. Fire Dragons are not immune to suppression, so... Units are going to enter inside the gate, so we'll see if they do actually decide to exit here or not. Does make use of the infiltration to try and get in here. It might last just... Nope, not going to last long enough there. Suppression onto the Fire Dragons here, and I don't think Guxus can do anything more here. It's just going to be forced into a retreat. The map is incredibly blue right now. In fact, red team only in control of this power over here. But even then, that may not last for long. Plague Champion going to get forced off once again, and we just have 2 Wraithlords inside the base of Guxus. A 3rd Wraithlord is approaching. Rangers are also able to fire inside the base there, I believe, from that particular position, especially as the Wraithlords are all tanking the machine gun fire. And I don't think these Fire Dragons are going to last for very long. We do actually have some Dire Avengers desperately trying to chase in here. Look like they want to go for a grenade spike here. We'll be able to knock the Fire Dragons onto their feet, and all the Wraith Lords going to be engaged in melee combat now. And we do actually have some Wraith Guard coming for a flank as well. Guxus is about to lose everything here, I believe. Can try and use the Webway Gate and try and evacuate towards the enemy base, but we'll still be lacking a base to reinforce from. With 3 Wraith Lords inside the base here and 30 VPs remaining, things are pretty much one hit for a blue team, I think, at this point. That Fire Dragon squad, though, that's finally falls to Wraith Guard focusing it down. Other Fire Dragon squad is still alive, but for how much longer, I wonder. Warp Throw is going to go down, but is going to miss. The units do retreat away entirely. Farseer is going to type the Wraith Guard squad, but all turrets have died, so they can have a bit more mobility. There are 2 Wraith Guard squads as well. Farseer cannot tie up both squads at the same time. Grenade Spike on top of the Wraith Guard, but Wraithbone upgrade has been purchased, and that's going to be game. The VPs are going to tick down a bit too quickly. That does mean SPL are going to win all 3 of their 2v2 matches, and they will earn an additional 3 points because of that. In terms of score then, I believe SPL now are currently on 7 points out of a potential 9 points they could have had, and that does mean that Wigglytuff Guild are going to be on quite a lot of units dying in this particular game. I think that is going to be it for Clan Wars though this evening. I'm just going to spin the wheel now, and I can just read out the map to them. Man, I really wish I could mute the sound for myself as well. Well, jumping into the hybrid clan match slash Elite League Season 3 match, we've got Boogie going to be playing as a Chaos Sorcerer on the bottom side of the map. Meanwhile, top side of the map we do have Lazy, and I'm assuming Lazy is going to be representing Wigglytuff Guild, given that Wigglytuff Guild have been the ones playing tonight along with SPL. But let's see how the game goes. Going to be double Heretics here for Boogie, likely double Scouts as well for Lazy. May choose to always skip the second Scout squad in favour of additional generators early on, but is going to be getting that second Scout squad. Always very nice against Chaos Sorcerer, since he is quite fragile. I always quite like shotguns against him, but whether or not that is the right choice, I do not know. As mentioned before, I haven't actually played the game as much as compared to when I was a bit more active in the community, so I am quite rusty still indeed. But the Force Commander though should be able to do quite well against Chaos Sorcerer in the early stages of the game, just able to fight in melee combat much better. Chaos Sorcerer will have to rely on landing a decent Doom Bolts, which we will see here. Actually bringing the Tactical Marines down to half HP, the Heretics are going to jump on top. Going to be unable to finish off a model though, but definitely softening up the Tactical Marines quite a lot, and they're going to sit back and base and heal up for quite some time now. Should be able to gain a decent amount of map control here. CSM though, seeing Force Commander decides to back away. That Force Commander though going to be really irritating in the early stages of the game. We see the CSM making a dash though for this building. The Chaos Sorcerer is going to start swinging away though, but the Chaos Sorcerer not really having very high damage output in the early stages of the game without any war gear upgrades. It's just going to try and do what he can. You know, double Scouts in the center of the map going to rejoin here. Should be able to focus down that Chaos Sorcerer, and he should be brought off the field. Scouts though are not assisting the Force Commander at the moment. That Force Commander looking like he's not needing any assistance anyway. He is just battering here, but he's going to be forced off the field overall. There are some Havocs coming in for Boogie already, going to help keep the Force Commander in check. So far, no gens for either players at the moment. And very annoyingly here for Lazy, he's actually going straight in for the requisition point, going to decap a fully matured rec point. Going to put a bit of a hurt there on Boogie's economy. Did he just skip the setup? I wasn't paying attention there, but it looked like they set up in half the amount of time needed. Maybe it's just me, maybe it's just late and I've just missed something, but that looked different. But Scout's just going to be very annoying, getting some very deep decaps there. But we'll see what Boogie or what Lazy decides to purchase as his tier 1.5 unit. Could potentially see, okay, we do actually see ASMs then coming out from him. There are 2 Heretics on the field, but double Heretics. In fact, we do see the Aspiring Champion upgrade come in at this very second. Going to allow the Heretics to fight these ASM a little bit better, but with the Force Commander support, they should still be able to win against 2 Heretic squads, but can be a bit cost efficient if you do end up losing ASM models in the process. But already some very aggressive map pressure here from Boogie, in control of the majority of the map at the moment. Scouts are trying to do what they can, but Scouts are going to get caught out here by the Chaos Sorcerer and these Heretic. Scouts do have faster movement speed, so can be quite annoying to try and chase down with these units when you don't have the Vestments of Warp, for example, or don't have CSM to focus them down at range. But overall, there's going to be limits to how much they can get decapped on this map. They are only a squad. Going to be an early shotgun upgrade here for Lazy as well. Some fully upgraded Scouts can be quite irritating when you have Sergeant can detect when the Heretics do try and do worship and try and infiltrate units. Can also get some decent retreat grenades on as well, and plus you have the extra model with the shotgun, so it increases the overall squad damage. Tactical Marines though going a little bit aggressive. That lead model is going to die. The second model, I don't think they can make this. Do retreat away though. Model is going to die, and Havocs can just set up now in a bit of a more aggressive position. Could even go for power at this point, although there's nothing to really back them up at the moment. Actually, you see the Sword of Flame here coming in for the Chaos Sorcerer. Will allow him to actually start hitting away at that Force Commander, deal some decent damage. Meanwhile, Scout's going to switch positions here. Chaos Sorcerer should be fairly effective now against Scouts with the Sword of Flame, but still going to struggle to get too close to them. Two generators down for Lazy, 3 for Boogie. So far, both players kind of playing it fairly safe for now. 420 VPs to 492. Going to be a 2-to-1 cap, so Boogie is going to be able to reclaim the small VP disadvantage that he's currently at. No war gear upgrades for the Force Commander as of yet. Likely to see some though come tier 2. Could always go for a very fast Terminator Force Commander armor, but generally don't see that as often. But some more Scout upgrades coming in. It's going to be a very expensive tier 1 here for Lazy in comparison to Boogie. We do see Boogie taking up to tier 2 now. Meanwhile, Lazy is currently only on 25 power, so will be a little bit delayed. A fast Blood Crusher can definitely put the screws onto Lazy. We'll need to try and make a big push here now that he's spent quite a lot of power in tier 1. In fact, actually he's upgraded both Scout squads there with the Sergeant. That's going to be, how much power is that going to be in total? That's going to be 80 power then for the shotguns and the 2 Scout Sergeants, and then like, additional 50 on these ASMs, so 130 power, sorry, has been spent. Some late evening math, so might have got it wrong, but we'll see. Shotgun Blast is going to go down, should save some energy on one of these Scout squads for a retreat grenade. Really needs to wipe a squad here where possible, or really needs to get a generator farm where possible. Grenade is going to get thrown down, but is going to be avoided by the CSM. And overall, it's going to be a fight 1 here for Lazy, but decides to back away rather than trying to push the advantage a bit further. As an alternative, can try and place down some additional generators here. Do see 1 already, but I feel like he really needs to bash the power in order to make a difference in this game, because Boogie has got enough resources for a Blood Crusher as soon as tier 2 hits. There's going to be a Bloodletter squad though. Boogie may be a bit concerned that there might already be a vehicle counter on the map. ASMs are going to be forced into a retreat. There is detection on the map, so we haven't actually got any infiltration for these Scouts as of yet, but may see the infiltration upgrade come in fairly soon, as it does provide the Scouts with additional health and energy regen when outside of combat. But Bloodletters now on the field. These ASMs are going to really struggle to actually do anything in melee combat. Bloodletters dealing 50 power melee damage per model, I believe, so a total of 200 power melee, same as a Seer Council. Can be pretty nasty to fight against. Generator farm, or the additional generator rather, has been detected here by Boogie. May just choose to try and bash that as quickly as possible. It's actually a second ASM squad. I believe this is an Overwatch mistake by Lazy. Should the vehicle hit the map, Lazy's going to be incredibly far behind should that ASM squad actually finish. If the second ASM squad does hit the field, then Lazy will really need to bash the power as hard as possible. Will even probably need to capture it himself in order to have the economy to take up to tier 2. Do have some scouts though, bashing power, and the second ASM squad does hit the field. Does actually have enough power actually to take up to tier 2, and straight away Lazy realising his Overwatch mistake there. Slightly too late as the squad does exit out of base. But the two ASMs though should be able to win this engagement fairly handily though. May lose an ASM model due to the double heretics just going straight for them though, having to retreat through them. However, the second ASM squad backing up the Havocs will be unable to set up once again. Chaos Sorcerer does also have the Robes of Torment as well, so these double ASMs are going to struggle. You can focus down the Robes of Torment, but if it's just ASM in the fight, their bolt pistol is not going to be the most effective at trying to kill something at 500 HP. Chaos Sorcerer though, going to try and do what he can, but these double scouts do quite a lot of damage here, and after a single Doom Bolt, the Chaos Sorcerer decides to back away. So Lazy does actually have enough, does start taking up to tier 2 now. However, still quite far behind. Generator farm was actually captured by Boogie, but we do see Lazy making a push to reclaim it. Scouts should be able to get that fairly easily, and Boogie does have enough resources for a Dreadnought, but may opt for tier 3 potentially. Is lacking in VPs though, 300 to 479. Lazy with the VP advantage. We do see the Dreadnought is going to be the purchase though. Chaos Sorcerer does have the ability to keep Dreadnought alive fairly easily, can warp it out if in danger, however does also rely on the Chaos Sorcerer to be positioned in such a way that when the Dreadnought does get warped out, it's warped out into a safe place rather than in the same spot, for example, if you are doing an army versus army fight. These Bloodletters though getting caught. There's some Worship nearby, so the Bloodletters will start regenerating quite quickly. Worship providing 10 health regen per model per second, so can make the squad feel incredibly tanky when it does receive heretic support, unless you have enough damage to kind of counteract that. That Boogie looks like he's aiming for a bit of a power bash here, although most of his army is melee, so we'll see how much they can do. Tactical Marines just down to a single model still, not really wanting to spend too much requisition, and all these melee units going to start wailing away there at the Generator farm. Not really sure what these ASMs can do against double heretics and Bloodletters and the Chaos Sorcerer. These shotgun scouts coming in though should be able to provide some decent assistance, should be able to knock the Bloodletters on their feet, and should be able to pick away these heretic models fairly quickly, and the Thunderhammer for the Force Commander going to help counter this army. ASMs though are getting knocked back. The ASMs will be able to jump away. Force Commander is going to go and should focus down these heretics as quickly as possible. Without any worship support, these Bloodletters are going to be as good as useless against the masses of damage here. Bloodletter is going to be brought down to just 2 models, and one Generator will fall there. Chaos Sorcerer remaining in the fight for a little bit longer just to get the power bash down. However, at the same time, some CSM are going to get a decap against the second Generator farm of Lazy's. Tactical Marines have been upgraded into Standguard Veterans, saves having to reinforce those 2 extra models. Standguard Veterans effective against all targets, having to switch ammunition in and out, depending on what they are firing against. And it's actually going to be just left neutralized here for now. Power though looks like it will be reclaimed fairly quickly by Lazy. 246 VPs, 468. Will be still behind in VPs. There is no Melter upgrade for these ASM, so Dreadnought, by the looks of it, it's just going to get overwhelmed by sheer melee and vengeance rounds on the Standguard Veterans. A melee upgrade, a Melter upgrade, sorry, comes in at the last second here. No energy on the second ASM squad, or either that or both Melter bombs were thrown down at the same time. Lazy is going to be forced to run away though, as some worship support does come in on top of this Dreadnought. Standguard Veterans will remain on the field though. Bloodlessers are going to go in for a warp. Looks like they're going to go for the VP. Boogie down nearly half the amount of VPs, or down by, yeah, half the amount of VPs of Lazy, sorry. Is going to need to make a bit of a focus there. Lazy's just been very annoying with his scouts throughout the entire game, just kind of getting decaps on that natural VP, or on VP more towards Boogie's side. May need to actually leave something there in the end. Could always park the Dreadnought there, but Dreadnought is probably best served in the big fight. CSM squad for Boogie. Could potentially upgrade the squad either with Mark of Horn or Mark of Zinch. Mark of Horn probably wouldn't work out too well, as there are quite a few melee counters on the map here for Lazy, but Mark of Zinch would definitely help in terms of range. Scouts coming in for a flank grenade has already been used though. Chains of Torment is going to get focused down, and that Dreadnought is going to be upgraded with the Mark of Corn. And that is going to destroy the scouts there. One scout squad is going to fall together. A second scout squad may actually fall here. There's nothing in retreat to finish it off though, and it is quite low. ASMs are going to try and jump in and try and disrupt the backline, but not having enough energy to jump once again are going to get tied up by those Chaos Havocs. We do actually have the summoning circle here. These heretics will be able to reinforce in the field, and the Force Commander by himself is not going to be enough to turn the tide of this engagement. Boogie going to be able to secure the center of the map for himself. Lazy though, losing one of the scout squads is going to be a bit of an expensive loss. We do have some Devastators making their way out. It's going to be upgraded with their last cannon straight away, I'd imagine, to help fight this Mark of Corn Dreadnought. However, the Chaos Sorcerer does stay off to one side, can always warp it to safety. Havoc so going to set up here. We can actually have a bit of Power Bash come in. CSM and Havocs can just focus it down at range. We can always send oil melee units in, but we may decide not to do that as it is quite close to the enemy base. Chains of Torment, they're going to prevent a further push. Going to give the Havocs a little bit of time to try and finish off this journey to farm. From there they can just back away, or they can try and stay here and just try and buy some additional time. Lazy fairly grouped up here. These Havocs though are going to be forced off at the very end. Meanwhile, ASM now going to go for this VP as well. This VP has been under constant pressure from Lazy throughout the game. Lazy constantly sending a unit to that side to go and capture it. But it does have a triple cap against him. Should be a 2-to-1 cap though for him in a moment. Devastators are going to set up, but the Dreadnought's actually making its way here to the other side. ASM are going to jump to safety. In the engagement though, when the Devastators are able to fire on Dreadnought, we should see the battle cry get activated from the Force Commander along with 40 Emperor, just to give the last cannon as much damage as possible, to try and soften up the Dreadnought and try and eventually kill it. But 40 Emperor actually getting used here on these ASM. That Heretic squad is so low at the moment, these ASMs are not having, in fact they did actually have just about enough energy to jump, but Mark of Corn Dreadnought may have been able to take down a few additional models. May have been worth though for Lazy to try and jump in, try and finish off that Heretic squad. Just reduce the amount of units that Boogie has on the map, making it harder for him to gain map control. Force Commander though is going to tie up the Bloodlessers and Chaos Sorcerer. Meanwhile, ASM jumping onto the backline. Slaughter has been used, and the CSM squad is going to equip their chainswords instead, swapping out their bolters for a better melee damage. Heretics on the retreat path there. Not going to be able to get an additional ASM model, but overall the fight has been won here for Boogie. However, still a 1-to-1 cap at the moment. Boogie still needs to send some units back to his natural here to go and capture his VP, and will also need to go for the enemy VP as well. Tier 3 for both players. Going to be finishing roughly at the same time. And Havoc's going to go in for a Power Bash once again. Could see this Havoc squad upgrade with an autocannon if they want to tear down Generator Farm a little bit quicker. But going to stick with Suppression just to keep Lazy squads locked down. Generator Farm though is going to be reclaimed here for Boogie, for Lazy rather. Has been in control of Boogie's for quite some time now. Level 3 Sorcerer. Havocs are requiring a little bit of help. That Sorcerer is Gonna slowly make his way over there. Looked like he wasn't gonna help out there for a second, and Boogie's actually going to lose his Havoc squad here. They retreat away, they will die. Chaos Sorcerer though should be able to pick up a couple of models here or there, assuming the ASM squad doesn't retreat away. But in the mid side, Devastators are going to get jumps on. The Dreadnought has been slowed, but with the Devastators forced to tear down their setup, Dreadnought is going to come in. The Force Commander actually able to get a swing there with his hammer, despite being locked down by the Chains of Torment. Does prevent the Bloodletters from chasing any further, and the Devastator squad is going to live. But in terms of map control, Boogie is very much dominating in this area and will soon have a VP advantage. It's going to be a triple cap against Lazy in a second. 221 VPs to 262. Those 262 VPs will tick down very quickly if not careful. They actually have some Chaos Terminators getting called in here. Chaos Terminators very good against Generator farms. However, there are other units that you can get earlier on that are more effective against them. Meanwhile, Lazy, we do actually have some Vanguard Veterans as the first tier 3 purchase. One of the ASM squads has been upgraded, but I'm not sure what the Vanguard Veterans can do here. It's going to be still a bit of a tough fight. Vanguard Veterans do have all power melee weapons, so they will be more effective against these Terminators. However, the Chaos Terminators being very tanky with 3,750 HP, it's still going to be a rough fight for them nonetheless, especially with Mark Horn Dreadnought to support them. Vanguard Veterans equipping their Vengeance rounds, going to be able to focus down that Dreadnought, but actually focusing down some CSM at the moment. The fight is going well for Lazy thus far. However, with the ASM and Vanguard Veterans getting locked down, the Force Commander is going to fall. The Vanguard Veterans are getting tied up by the Chaos Sorcerer. Lazy calls well played. Also just realised that another player called there we go. So it's going to be Fedred Folly as game 2. But both players should be remembering to call out the L in this particular game. But starting off on the bottom side, we've got Lazy on the blue side playing as a Hive Tyrant, and on the top side we've got Boogie playing as a Commando Nob. L has been called by Boogie. L has been repeated by Lazy, so this is now an official league game. First game though of the evening was also official, but we just need to manually adjust that. So, not much to really say in the early stages of the game, other than Lazy just sending out some units. Boogie also sending out some units. So currently we're still in the group stages of the Elites League, however that should be coming to an end fairly soon. Most players, or some players, have finished all of their games. Some other players are still got a couple of games left to do, but are pretty much coming towards the end of that. So fairly soon we should be moving into, or moving past the group stages into the actual tournament itself, where we will see even more action go down. But I don't think there's been a date announced yet for the tournament, so I'll have to find out some more information about that, but hopefully should be able to live stream it. Hopefully it's a day that I'm free on. Commando Nob though, just going to enter the building, going to be incredibly annoying. Does actually take a surprising amount of damage from these Termagants, despite them not being upgraded, but he was caught without any cover whatsoever. And Boogie just going to be securing the upper ground here by sending the majority of his army, with the exception of the Commando Nob, all the way to the top side. Meanwhile, Lazy is kind of pushing in through the centre there, and could potentially come round or go straight for the power, or go in for a flank on the top side. Homagants making their way back out of base, should be able to catch out these shooters on top of the requisition point though. There's nothing to really support them. Some shooters on the high ground, but Lazy can quite easily flank that. Termagants even forcing melee there on retreat, with these shooters still fairly healthy. We'll be able to escape with 3 out of 5 members alive. I don't have any upgrades at the moment for these Termagants, but likely to see the Crippling Poison upgrade come in fairly soon. It's actually going to be a fast set of warriors, which should definitely help out in melee combat against these sluggers, and also provide some additional tankiness against these shooters when trying to go in. Playoffs on the 23rd of March, possibly 24th. That's annoying. I'm actually away that weekend. going to be up at Comic Con that weekend, but we'll try and catch the games afterwards, I guess. We'll definitely be casting some of the replays once back, though. Double shooters going to be making their way up towards the top side. Painboy going to be assisting these sluggers here. However, if the Hive Tyrant is in melee combat with the Warriors and with the Homogons, they should still be able to win the engagement. The Warriors have gone off to the side here. Hive Tyrant's taking quite a lot of damage in range, does not want to be engaged in melee combat, otherwise it will go down. No upgrades to the Hive Tyrant, does not have the rending talons, so they cannot knock units back. That Hive Tyrant now deciding to turn around. Painboy does heal up these sluggers, bring them back up to full health, does increase their health regen for a small amount of time after that, and these Homogons are taking a lot of damage, are going to be forced up. It's actually going to be a Barb Strangler upgrade very early on here. It's going to get suppression on both the Shooter Boy squads, however not really dealing too much damage there. The Warrior Brood is going to start backing away here, take quite a lot of damage from the Commander Nob, actually losing the model very early on. That was very unfortunate for Lazy. That Commando Nob's gun is just incredibly effective against single targets. Rending Talons is going to come in for Lazy though. This should allow him to fight the Sluggers and Painboy more effectively, increases the amount of melee damage he does, and also allows him to do the knockback and poison the ground. Meanwhile, these Sluggers get to infiltrate away. The Warriors are still in the base, so without any detection, these Sluggers should be able to make a sneaky escape. Termagant is going to take down a Shooter model in return to losing 3 models, but Shooter Boy models are a lot more expensive than Termagant models, so a somewhat equal trade. Hive Tyrant though, going to try and go back in. Painboy is still in the field, but Painboy ideally wanting to save his heal for the Sluggers. The Hive Tyrant is actually going to retreat away here. Going to come back out of base shortly. Going to be 2 generators here for Lazy, but we do have triple generators here for Boogie, so should have the slight power advantage. Currently 23 power to 48. No player is near tier 2 at the moment, but I'd imagine players are going to start making their way towards tier 2. It's actually going to be a full retreat here for Lazy. I don't know if that was maybe a slight mistake. Backing away when not in combat. And we do have the stick bomb upgrade on the Commander Nob. Could try and get a flank, could try and wipe some units on the high ground. Although it looks like he should be able to shoot down, he is unable to shoot down though. Does need to make his way towards the ramp here instead. But stick bombs can be thrown from the high ground nonetheless and will miss altogether. Fairly passive game from both players. 426 VPs, 444. No one really committing to an engagement at the moment. Some shooters though are going to make their way towards mid as the Homogons and Termagants do come in to try and get some points on the map. But Slugger's going to end up engaging some Termagants on the right side. Crippling Poison does wear out, does allow these Sluggers to tie the gap there. Meanwhile, shooters are going to try and suppress these Homogons as best as they can, but there are Warriors and the Hive Tyrant to back them up. Commander Nob onto the back line. I believe the stick bombs do have a fairly short cooldown, so they might actually be ready for the next engagement here. Commander Nob should be able to throw stick bombs as this feat can potentially wipe a Homogon squad if not careful. And actually does get it as well. With the Homogon squad down, these Sluggers are going to be able to have a bit more freedom around the map at the moment. Going to be tier 2 here for Boogie. Lazy is still a little bit away from tier 2 himself. Sluggers are going to retreat away, however the Hive Tyrant should be able to pick away at some models. With the Warrior Brood here, having the Barb Strangler, these shooters will need to split up in half unless they want to get suppressed at the same time. Commander Nob actually doing some decent damage to the power node. For some reason it feels like the Commander Nob in this game is actually doing like quite a lot of damage just by himself. Is a level 2 Commando Nob as well. Meanwhile, the map looking quite red at the moment is in favour of Boogie. These Warrior Brood not really able to do too much by themselves. We'll need to be a little bit careful, especially as Sluggers have now rejoined the field and Painboy is walking around. Decides to go with the Hive Tyrant back to base and take a bit more of a defensive position. We do have some Raveners on the way here as well for Lazy. It's going to delay his tier 2 a little bit, but not by too much. The Raveners though should be able to get onto the back line, should be able to disrupt these shooters, force melee and reduce the amount of range damage being taken by the Warrior Brood and the Hive Tyrant. However, still need to be careful of Sluggers and the Painboy always turning around. engagement about to go down. Ravenous should be able to get a decent knockback here, a nice Barb Strangler hit, going to suppress the entire army there with its initial shot, but however the stun bomb does land onto the Venom Brood, going to prevent any further shots from them for a little while. Termagant's trying to do what they can against these Sluggers. Crippling Poison has already been used once, and the Hive Tyrant is trying to defend these Termagants as best as possible. Crippling Poison is going to get used a second time, so the Hive Tyrant should be able to tie up the squad. Meanwhile, Ravenous onto the backline here, able to tie up one of these Shooter Boy squads, forces them both into a retreat here. The Ravenous and the Warrior Brood may be able to finish off the Slugger Boy squad here. They are a little bit low, but the Ravenous are unable to secure those last few models, and Zap getting used here as the Weird Boy approaches the field. Weird Boy though being forced to back away here. Does do plasma cannon damage, so if it's actually able to land a shot against the Warrior Brood, might be able to deal some decent damage here. Maybe able to take down a model if it does land 2 hits in a row. Meanwhile, Ravenous is going to try and burst down one of these generators, and should be able to get the generator here as well. They have some Sluggers infiltrating here. I don't know if that was the infiltration from earlier, still about to wear out, but the Warrior Brood will be able to detect that, and it was the infiltration from earlier, as it has now run out. Tier 2 coming in for Lazy, 346 VPs to 389 VP count. It's still fairly even, however, looks like Lazy may overtake the VP count soon. Although Boogie does push his way back out, maybe able to secure the upper ground for himself once again. Does also need to secure the right hand side, but the Commander Nob can generally do that by himself. He's actually just going to go straight in for a power bash by the looks of it though. Did soften up that power node a bit earlier. Painboy is going to go and be the capping unit here, and the entire generator farm could potentially go down. Ravenous and Warriors are making their way back out of the base. The Hive Tyrant doesn't have the charge armor, so it will take a little bit longer to get into combat here. Nob Leader though for the Slug is going to make the squad much tankier and also increase damage output by a considerable amount. The Nob Leader does a ridiculous amount of damage in comparison to the regular models. Always a worthwhile upgrade if you value your Sluggers in tier 2. And we can have the Shotgun Blast upgrade, or the Shotgun upgrade, sorry, with the Commander Nob, allowing him to use the Shotgun Blast. Can be quite devastating if the Tyrian army is grouped up a bit too close together. Meanwhile, Slugger's going to go in for the decap here. Boogie decided to just go in for the kill on the economy as opposed to the VPs for now. However, I imagine once he's kind of secured this right-hand area, will probably be making his way towards the upper ground. A Tyrant Guard has entered the field, but Sluggers with their Nob Leader should be able to do okay against the Tyrant Guard, assuming the Tyrant Guard doesn't land any specials. A really nice knockback here from the Weird Boy, but Tyrant Guard is on the back line. These Sluggers are a little bit weaker at the moment. They're down by 500 hit points. Stick Bomb's going to go down here. Warrior Brood will be able to leave the area. Some Termagants though are going to get caught out by that, but overall the Termagant squad is still going to be alive. And Sluggers are able to back away. They're going to go back to the Painboy. Painboy is going to heal them back up to full health, and now they're ready to take on this Tyrant Guard. Shooters are not the most effective against Tyrant Guard, but with a Death Dread out in the field, there should be enough tankiness here ready to take that on. Hive Tyrant could always opt to get some armor though, just to make himself a bit tankier. Try and help out in melee combat a little bit more. Have seen builds in the past on the Hive Tyrant where he does get the energy shield upgrade along with some additional armor, just allowing him to be incredibly tanky, as he doesn't actually have any abilities, or you don't tend to use abilities so much, and just rely on all your energy to go towards that shield instead. Death Dread though is going to come in, no burner and bits upgrade at the moment, although it is being queued, or is being purchased rather. Currently a triple cap for Lazy though. So we'll see what the Death Dread can do. The power's already been bashed though, so the Death Dread is going to be here more to kind of just tie up and make use of the fact that Lazy hasn't actually got an AV counter on the map right now. That Tyrant Guard though is going to get tied up by these Sluggers and by the Death Dread himself. The Hive Tyrant could potentially go down here, but all the units are currently chasing the Tyrant Guard. The units can quite easily switch over to the Hive Tyrant if they want to try and kill him instead. However, some vehicle pathing issues do make that a bit harder to do. Venom Brood has already been called in response to the Death Dread. The Power Node is going to get torn down once again. That Pain Boy trying to take on the Tyrant Guard by himself. The Pain Boy is going to go down here potentially. Gets knocked over by the Weird Boy, but the Tyrant Guard decides not to focus down. The Pain Boy decides to back away. Is fearful of these sluggers trying to chase it all the way into base at the moment. Knob Leader though going to pick off one of the more improved models. And we do have units vacating from the right hand side out of Lazy's base here. That Venom Brood though taking a lot of damage down by only losing one model, surprisingly though. And Zap has been placed onto the army once again, which will just kind of keep passing around there. Always really annoying, always wants to isolate the squad that is currently Zap just so that it doesn't do too much. It's going to force Lazy into a retreat there as the Zap is able to do quite a bit of damage to all these Termagants. Meanwhile, the Commando Knob just going to go around just on that high ground, is just capping things up. We do have the Mega Boom Kit as well. Improved stun bombs, stick bombs, BB traps, and kaboom. So I'm not actually 100% sure on what it means by improve them. I don't know if it just increases the amount of damage that's been dealt by it, or if it actually increases the radius, or if it's a bit of both. Maybe someone in the chat is able to clarify that for me. 295, 262 Boogie now making a point to try and capture all the VPs on the map. However, there is a Hive Tyrant here going to be very annoying. The shotgun upgrade not the most effective against the Hive Tyrant himself. The default weapon I believe is better against single targets, but the shotgun is so good against entire armies. That is always worth going for. These shooters doing some decent damage there too. Raven is able to pick down a model. Lazy is sending all of his army towards this bottom side of the map. Does have the Hive Tyrant on the upper ground here. Maybe baiting the Boogie into coming down to the lower ground, allowing the Hive Tyrant to go and secure the 2 VPs for himself. And then Lazy may be able to win in terms of VPs here. Although Raven is taking a very aggressive push here. They're going in by themselves. The units for Lazy are not in position to follow that up. Weird Boy is going to shout, is going to stun and catch out some Termagants. Shooters are ready to go in, but the Tyrant Guard is going to come in, turn around and start hitting away. Tyrant Guard was not fully healthy before this fight began, so he's going to take quite a lot of damage here. Sluggers are still fairly healthy, does try and charge away, and the Termagants are forced to retreat through the Orc army, although most of the focus is currently on the Tyrant Guard at the moment. Storm Boys do get on top of that Venom Brood. Storm Boys with their power melee also very effective with both the Tyrant Guard and the Venom Brood. Tyrant Guard is so low right now. Can enter shield wall formation, however it does decide to enter shield wall formation. The Storm Boys along with the Death Dread should be able to deal enough damage to finish it off. Tyrant Guard is going to fall here, and while there is a full generator farm here, I don't think it's going to last too long given that Boogie's army is already here. That Hive Tyrant though did do exactly as said, did go around and just capture the high ground for himself. However, Lazy is going to lose power here, so while he is doing well in the VP side of things, in terms of economy, it is being brought down constantly by Boogie. So Storm Boys though taking quite a bit of damage, but the Sluggers are still very healthy in this fight, and will be able to clean up what the Storm Boys were unable to finish. These Raveners incredibly low at the moment. Some stick bombs on retreat here, and to catch out one of the warrior models, but the warrior models not too fussed about that though. One generator does remain, but I imagine that generator is going to fall quite quickly. Hive Tyrant on the back line, trying to do what he can at the moment. There's a Death Dread slowly chasing him. Death Dread is not melee charging in. Looks like I've already used that melee charge. So just going to have a bit of a game of cat and mouse here. There's a Pain Boy to the right hand side, which might be able to intercept the Hive Tyrant, but the Hive Tyrant with 700 HP is going to be fairly tanky. Quite not being detected by the Warrior Brood here. Could try and throw down some additional stick bombs. Will do. However, it is going to be seen and avoided by Lazy, force the Command Bomb into a retreat. Hive Tyrant trying to do what he can, does a little spin, and decides to back out to base, unable to take on the Death Dread nor the Pain Boy. Meanwhile, some Venom Brood trying to go in for a power bash, but Storm Boys were set to a move command as opposed to an attack command, so we'll walk past the Venom Brood, not really dealing anything to them. And overall, Boogie's still quite far behind on VPs, Lazy with 130 VP advantage at the moment, although losing in other aspects of the game such as economy and units or army size. Improved rocket packs for these Storm Boys coming in quite handy. However, that one Termagon model is very determined, does remain on the requisition point and is able to secure it for himself. Going to be tier 3 for both players. Lazy may be able to get Carnifex out on the field, but does require a bit of saving. He cannot lose his Generator farm again, otherwise he will be unable to afford that Carnifex. Could always opt for a Neurophrope as well. However, Carnifex I think might be the better choice here, if one can be afforded. Meanwhile, from Boogie, does have plenty of red in the bank. Could see a Commando call in. Commandos will help him get some map control back and will help him kind of reclaim the VP disadvantage that he's currently at the moment. Commandos are excellent side capping units, pretty effective against everything, can infiltrate and can just sneakily go around the map and provide some excellent support come late game. Hive Tyrant is going to lead the charge here. Shotgun Blast does come in. The Warrior Brood just still 2 models, but very low health at the moment. Stormboy is going to jump on top of the Venom Brood, and Lazy is questioning something, but I'm not sure what specifically. Jones the farm is going to go down once again here for Lazy. Does not have enough power though for a Carnifex, so might see a different tier 3 unit. Could even go for a tier 3 Lictor, given how low Boogie is on VPs. Could always try and win with a tier 3 Lictor. I believe both the tier 3 Lictor and both the Commandos are detectors, so can make for an interesting interaction should we see both of them on the field. And it is actually going to be that tier 3 Lictor as well. Tier 3 Lictor should also be quite effective at putting in knob leaders as well, should you want to try and snipe them, if you want to use it in a more aggressive manner. Zombo's going to go in for the jump though, are going to be able to tie up those warriors. They are so low at the moment, the squad may just go down, but the Rending Talons knockback comes in, does potentially save the Warrior Brood. They're down to 42 HP and they will live overall. The Rending Talons do come in with that last second save. We'll see what the Lictor can do in melee combat here, but that's going to be a dead Termagon squad. I'm not sure the Hive Tyrant and the Lictor can win this melee engagement. Raveners may also go down here. The squad is so low right now, will die to Flamers. Rending Talons knockback is on cooldown still, cannot be used again for a little bit longer. The Lictor may need to jump on out of that, and does do so. And Lazy is going to concede the game. That does mean that Boogie is going to go 2-0 in his series against Lazy. And I believe that was going to be the only games that they played here. They did say L in that game, Oceans. So we just need to speak to Adila about the first one. But thank you guys for watching. Be sure to follow or subscribe if you enjoyed the content. Be sure to check out YouTube if you haven't checked that out already, if you want to watch some more casts. And I'll be streaming again at some point soon. I think I'm streaming again this weekend, but I can't remember why. But I'll be streaming on the 30th of March as well for the 1v1 supporting tournament. And I'll see you guys next time.